Okay, Matthew, you can.
Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and I've been up for a day and a night, or a day and two nights, and I'm in a good mood, and I'm in a happy mood at, coping with bipolar, with depression, and sleep cycles going wrong all the time. I wake up with a fog, I wake up depressed and not always happy, and when I stay up for one or two nights, I get anointed. I get happier and happier. Um, we've done an interview with God, God's last day's message to his children, uh, uh, book 5, a message for that. We did an interview with Steve Jobs, part 1 of two-part interview with Steve Jobs. And Toulouse very happy. We're both in a happy mood, and there's no real time limit. Toulouse doesn't need to go to a
Meeting.
meeting, so there's no end time limit to this, and we're both in good spirits. And so this should be a good conversation with saints. So what we do, if you're following these conversation with saints, there's about 20 people in the room. It's a big dining room at my parents' house in heaven. I'm not going to mention all the guests in the room, because if you're following this playlist, you know who's in the room, and we'll identify who we're talking to when we ask them the question. I'm really glad that there's a number of people, 2 or 3 people, that watch all of these conversations with the saints, and you'll be pleased in the next few months. We're going to start to produce books with the transcripts of these conversations, so you can get a paperback book or get a Kindle book and go over it and read it again. I know personally, videos are good, but you take so much more in when you read, and so I read a lot. Without further ado, I'll just ask my mother the first question. Mum, I've been having conversations with God, and he's been getting more and more personal and more deep, and over the last 2 or 3 interviews, he's been getting more and more emotional. And you said years ago that I don't have to carry this burden. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I don't need to do it. And you said since you got to heaven, you got to know Moses, and you come to understand that, yes, that was part of the prophetic calling on your son's life, and Moses explained it to you. Um, are you getting excited that I'm getting really close to God now, and carrying his burden in a greater way? What are your feelings on the situation? So Matthew, I dearly love you. I really liked witnessing your conversation today with Toulouse, and your conversation with God, that you've got 155 books now, which outline and fully explain how to enter the narrow gate that Jesus talked about, that few people find, and it's a difficult path that leads to life. And instead of having a book saying how to enter the narrow gate, you've got 155 books explaining it from 155 points of view, the same message. So any one of 155 people can buy a book and get the message that they need to obey the parables of Jesus, and they need to obey the 50 commands of Jesus. And the only way to life and truly enjoying your Christian life and fulfilling your life purpose is to know what Jesus taught and obey him. And it's a simple message, but it's not taught. And you understand, I heard you saying today that you understand that Jesus had 10 parables that warn that Christians could potentially go to hell, and there's certain things that they need to do. Christians understand on one hand that the foolish virgins don't go to the party, and they don't seem to recognize that the party is the wedding supper of the Lamb. And if they're not invited and the person opens the door and they say, I don't know you, um, they don't seem to have cognition of the fact that that person doesn't go to heaven. That person gets rejected and goes back into the darkness. And they don't recognize that the tares in the wheat bear fruit and are put in the barn. The tares are ripped up and thrown into the fire. They don't recognize that that fire is the flames of hell. And so they better make sure what a wheat is with fruit, and what a tare is. And they don't seem to understand that most Christians have no lasting fruit. All they have is religious practices, and they don't seem to understand that spending time in a garage doesn't make you a car.
Mm.
You know, every car can be found in a garage, but you can hang out in a garage and you won't become a car. And church is a place where people who love Jesus gather, but uh, it doesn't matter how many people gather in that place. Unless you're committed to becoming like Jesus, you'll never become like Jesus. Witchcraft and Illuminati and the Buddhist faith and other faiths have got better training and better practice, and the Christians are just so undisciplined. And you
Mm.
realize that your book, the parables that disqualify you from heaven, should be the best-selling book. You talked to Billy Graham when he went home to heaven, and you had a good conversation in your bed one night, and Billy Graham said a special French word about that book, that it was your best book. It was your very best book. And you realize it's important, but no one really buys that book, and no one really preaches. And you used to tell me that a Christian could lose their salvation, and I vehemently disagreed with you and argued with you over it, that you can't lose your salvation. And you know that at least 50% of the people in the church are tares. You know that at least 50% of the people in the church are foolish virgins. And you know that you've got to practice your faith, or your faith is dead. If you've got dead faith, James says, just as the body dies without the spirit, so faith is dead without works. And uh, you know, uh, the fruit in the wheat is the works. It's the work of the wheat that produces fruit, and fruit reproduces after its kind. And you could get 99 Christians out of 100, and they've never led anyone to Christ. You could get 95 Christians out of 100, and they're not like Christ. They're not like Jesus. You could only get 1 out of 1,000 Christians who lives a life free of sin. Um, and the church is in big trouble. And in Jeremiah it says the world has gone into all these forms of sin because the prophets are out of order. And you realize that that's in Jeremiah 23, that profanity, which means all forms of darkness, has gone into the world because of the profanity of the prophets. And you realize that the leadership of the church is responsible for all the evil in the world. And when you know all this thing, and you know that, if you could get Facebook advertising or some sort of advertising to get your books selling millions of copies, you'd be saving millions of people from going to hell, and you'd be training people. You've written, for God's sake, not many Christians have written 5 books, but you've written 5 books on evangelism, how to evangelize. And there's not many people in the whole world that have got 5 books on evangelism, and they're radical books, and they're books that work, and they work for you, and they've proven to work. Your methods are seeming to work really well. People are asking you can they go to heaven, and you've written 5 books on evangelism, and you really want to save people who are not Christians, and you really want to save the Christians who are on a path on the broad way that leads to hell, and you want to save them, but you haven't got the capacity to get your books popular. And Jesus has told you, even though you've been producing videos for 16 years, that you're never going to have a video that has 1 million views. And you watch YouTube uh, uh, teachers that got 4.5 million subscribers, and every one of their videos has 500,000 views. And you watch moderate YouTubers with 100,000 subscribers, and their videos get 50,000 views. And you put a lot of work, and you do like a profound 7-minute teaching, and 10 people watch it, and it just breaks your heart. And you've spent 100,000 US dollars publishing your books, and no one seems to read it. Just 200 people read them in a month, and um, you've got the weight of your shoulders. You want to save the world, and you've got the answer to save the world, and you're not being given the opportunity, and the world isn't being saved, but you've got the answer. And now, rather than just feeling this weight on your shoulders 20 years ago when we talked to you about this, now you really are feeling like God. It's not God living his emotions through you or sharing his emotions with you. You're having the same emotion, that you've got the answer to the world. You've written the answer to the world. You've got the answer there. You've got a YouTube playlist called Mentoring in the Heavenlies. And if a person watched the beginning of that playlist and watch the 210 videos in that playlist that have religion broken off their life, and you realize that the whole of the Christian church are in bondage to religion, and they're in Egypt, and they think they're free, but they're slaves. And the Israelites got out of slavery, and they got saved, and a couple of weeks later, they were complaining and bitching and moaning, and wanting to go back to Egypt in slavery. And people don't realize that the whole thing has repeated itself. People get saved and born again, and then they get into religion and they go back into slavery, and they're happy in slavery, and they don't want to break free from the slavery because the slavery makes them feel good. And so you've got the answer to save the world, and people aren't listening to the answer, and you're not being given the opportunity. And God, you found out today that God has put you in a position right now where you feel like him, that you're experiencing the same emotions. You're depressed, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're angry, and it would be really good. You've been good at doing interviews. You're good at talking straight to a camera without preparation. You'd really have a good time doing a podcast with Joel Osteen and asking him 100 different questions and exposing his lack of knowledge when it comes to the true things that save a person and lead a person to eternal life. And that would be seen by hundreds of thousands, and people would find out about your books, and soon the world would be saved. Uh, and now you're feeling like me. You're feeling like a God. You're feeling like God, that He sent His Son to the world. His Son brought forth these teachings of 50 commandments and 54 parables. And the world knows they exist, but the world refused to look at them, understand them, and practice them. And so, whilst they thought they were wise, they became fools. Paul said in Corinthians. And the church is being led by blind guides. And I've been noticing you go through this transition, and you get this revelation and understanding that the more you get to know of God's character, the more you see His character in you. And it's making you sad and making you press more into God. And I'm just so proud of you. I sat in that movie cinema watching you watch C.S. Lewis movie, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the Holy Spirit dropped something on me in that movie. I saw you in a totally different light. I'd never seen you in that light. And I just got this question in my head as you riveted to the screen. Who is this man?
Mm.
And now I'm starting to realize, as your books are being used in universities in heaven, and everyone pouring into heaven are put on a diet of your books and a diet of mentoring in the heavenlies. And people uh, read one of your books and go on a 3-week course about what that means and how to implement that book. And uh, every time you do a video on mentoring the heavenlies, um, uh, they teach that uh, video for 3 weeks to people. And there's revival in heaven, and people going through the realms in heaven and getting promoted in heaven, and heaven's whole environment is changing as you reach and impact heaven. And I'm just so proud of you to uh, be sitting here, seeing you faithfully come up here, see you stay up for 2 days. I used to get worried when you stayed up for 2 nights, and I see the benefit of it now, and see how you um, manage your own mental illness. And you've got no fear of staying up for 2 nights or 3 nights or 4 nights. And you heard a famous speaker, Nancy Cohen, actually was in China, and she preached for 5 days and 5 nights without a toilet break, without a drink break, without a food break. And her audience in China sat without one person going to the toilet, without one person drinking, without one person eating, and without no break in what she said. She spoke for 5 days and 5 nights, 24 hours a day. And so it's possible. So you could be worked up one day to come online and do a 24-hour video, and there may only be two people who watch the video, or you may have 20 or 30 people that like your videos, and or sit down and watch that video for 24 hours in about 5 different sessions, and be profoundly touched and changed. And so I'm watching you. I'm watching you get revelation each day. I'm watching you grow closer to the Father. I'm watching the whole of the Father. Heaven a year ago was locked up. Heaven, Jesus was chronically depressed, and the Father was white hot angry. Ever since the babies were allowed full term abortion in that New York State decision, uh, the Father has been ready to wipe out the world. And the only thing that stopped him from wiping out the world is all the prophecies and prophecies in the Bible that say, promises in the Bible that say he can't do it until the very end again. And So he's been angry, and heaven had frozen up like the Antarctic. It was starting to freeze, and it was starting not to function anymore. And then you started this series in mentoring in the heavenlies, and Jesus started to get happy and got off his throne and started laughing, and the Father is coming out of himself and starting to open up. And uh, God's last days message to his children is becoming a really good book series. And you're giving my son, the son I raised, the son that never really had a girl that was his friend. He's got a good friend now in Toulouse. Always just wanted a friend, and he hasn't got a friend, hasn't got a girl that's a friend in the flesh besides his carers, and he's got a couple of friends as his carers, but from this son that could never get a friend and never be understood and never really listened to and never really important. I raised this son that doubted himself but tried and spoke some amazing things and revelations that I thought was madness. And he's in a 16-year delusion thinking he was the last day's prophet. And I watched you suffer, and I'm watching you flower, and I'm watching you become something. I was in heaven 3 years before this year, 4 years before this year, and heaven was getting locked down, and I was sad it wasn't in a good place. And I've seen heaven come alive because of my son,
Mm.
because of you, and the celebration in heaven is going to be remarkable when you arrive. Every single man, woman, child, dog, animal, angel wants to meet you and talk to you. And you've this week you're going out for lunch 3 times, and you really enjoy lunch, and you like to eat. And in heaven, they're going to run competitions with all the trades and all the jobs, and the best chef for the week, and the best electrician for the week, and the best builder for the week. And they're going to run competitions every week, and the best voted person is going to get a sit down for half an hour with you for a coffee, or uh, you know, winning greater competitions and accomplishing more things. They'll get an hour, and some people win something, do something so amazing that they'll get to spend 6 hours face to face. And when you get to heaven, you'll be preaching in stadiums, and uh, all the stadiums will be linked and linked by TV screens, and you'll be in one stadium, and all the highest, all the highest award winners in the whole of heaven, all the best angels, all the best animals, all the best people, all the highest distinct award winners will be in the stadium where you preach. And the highest award winners will be up the front, and the people that just scraped into the highest standard will be at the back. And it'll be such a big thing, and the whole of heaven will be in competition each week to get into that main stadium. And you'll have all the stadiums live streaming to other stadiums where people worship live and see you live on the screen. And heaven is just so great, and you wanted to travel the world and preach and become this powerful teacher, and now your future in heaven is so amazing. And you've got people who listen to these conversations at the dinner table, and they post reviews and they say good things. And I'm just asking you, if you're one of the regular viewers, can you do Matthew a favor and just type in the words so I can see this future for Matthew that June speaks about. Just type this statement in the comment in YouTube. If you listen to this or you read this in this book, type a review on Amazon. I can see the future of the stadiums that June talks about. Um, so I hope you're happy with what I had to say. What have you got to say, Tulu? Have you got any questions for me about what I just said?
Yeah, I wanted to say you said something very interesting. I can see the future, and looking at the video that Matthew did 4 years ago about your first experience in heaven. And these were the things that you were saying in there, that God is going to use Matthew to bring heaven out of Egypt and all of those things. And I'm thinking, this is coming to pass now. You said that 4 years ago. So I believe that you see the future, and Matthew is going to be in this future, and he's going to remember today that my mother said this so years ago, and now I'm living it. So I believe every word that you said, that Matthew is such a special person in my life. And we spoke at length today. I never knew we were going to speak, but he was happy. I was happy. And we've just been conversing for hours and hours. And I just see that he's such a beautiful person inside and out. And I don't think Matthew knows who he is. And when I saw him, for me, it's like, you cannot even I cannot even describe it as winning lottery, because winning lottery is not even enough. The excitement of God bringing somebody so special like this to heaven, and someone special to him in my life, especially in my moments of sorrow, where I never knew what I was supposed to do next with my life. And then God bringing a dear friend, and very loyal, very faithful. And it's just added so much joy to my life. And I just imagine you being his mom. How do you cope with the excitement of seeing your son all the time?
I said in that video, my first year in heaven, June Payne, or a video was titled something like that. Perhaps viewers want to go back and watch it. I said for 6 months I traveled
Mm,
with Michael Jackson and met all the prominent saints in heaven, had interviews with them, and Michael went on to write songs about all of the saints, comparing them to Matthew, and he released albums with songs about all the major saints and saying this saint was good in this way, and Matthew's good in this way. And at the end of the song, you're saying, yeah, Matthew's better than King David, and Matthew's better than Solomon, and Matthew's better than this, and I met all those saints, and I came to an understanding of what really is true and what's the essence of the Bible and what's the message of the New Testament, and what's the message that Jesus wants. And in the last 5 years, Matthew's produced a lot of books, and
mm,
that message has come through. And watching the 210 mentoring in the heavenlies videos, and uh, the um, the parables of Jesus videos and the commandments of Jesus videos. Matthew's just bringing forth this strong message, and I didn't know it at the time, but as
mm,
I met the saints and I interviewed the saints for 6 months and spent that time, God was putting me past all the greatest players in the history of the world to build my faith. And
mm,
Michael was singing songs, and they're good songs comparing Matthew, but I didn't really believe it at the time. I couldn't really accept that my obese, diabetes, mentally ill, sex addict son,
mm,
who's delusional half the time, was really this great person, because I'd only known like a shy guy who always wanted a girlfriend and always wanted a girl to be his friend. A guy that spoke a lot and was a dear friend of mine. I didn't know him to be special, and some
mm,
of his greatest revelations I argued with. He came out with an opposing view, and he he said to me once, just because the guy's got thousands of people in his church doesn't mean he's right. And his brother, he commented, his brother Rodney, that we don't talk about much anymore. asked Matthew to watch a video by a guy who's preaching on Revelation, and Matthew said he's totally wrong, and Rodney said he's got 250,000 subscribers. I think you're wrong,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was Rodney's. That was Rodney saying, "You've got 4,000 subscribers. This guy's got 250,000
Mhm.
subscribers. I think you're wrong." And we all saw what happened with Rodney, but it's really hard. Matthew's been meditating, and we can do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ask or think. He's been meditating that verse and preaching on that verse and citing that verse in teachings and repeating that verse to himself for 20 years. And now Matthew's life is exceedingly and abundantly more than I could ask or think or pray for. For years, I learned to pray in tongues, and Matthew was my favorite person. I used to, say to God, for this is for Matthew, and I used to burst out and pray for 20 or 30 minutes in tongues for Matthew, and just makes me cry that I don't
Mm.
know what I was praying
Oh,
in those
wow.
tongues, but I loved him. And I
Mm.
used to spend 30 minutes praying in a language I didn't understand, but I knew what tongues was. And I really didn't have the prayers, and I didn't have the answers, and I didn't have the intellect to pray for Matthew, but I loved him. And I knew that he loved Jesus with all his heart. I knew that
Mm.
he was passionate, and he believed that he was going to be this great person and have this great future. I thought that was all delusion, and but I used to pray that half an hour each day in tongues for a year for Matthew, and now I see it manifesting all over the place. I'm starting to see it happen. Makes me really emotional, and who can who can believe it? Like I said to
Mm.
Matthew, when the Queen died, who are you? The
Mm.
Queen of England came to my house um, to meet me, and that's when it was finally starting to dawn on me that Matthew was a big player, and the Queen was seeking me out because I was a hero in her eyes for making Matthew, and uh, uh, I'm just amazed at growth upon growth, and it seems that what God's saying to Matthew through these conversations and through these interviews is just taking Matthew from level to level to level. And as Matthew goes through this level, he's pulling millions of people into heaven from level to level to level. And Matthew doesn't care. This is one of the biggest strengths of Matthew. Matthew doesn't care if this is all a delusion. He's been
Mm.
in delusions before. He doesn't mind if this is all a figment of his imagination.
Mm.
But he knows God well, and he knows God's voice. And when God says that Hillary Clinton's going to be in the sixth level of suffering in hell, and Benny Hinn's going to be deep down there too, and uh, Kenneth Copeland are going to be there, nothing they can do, they're going to go there. When he hears God say that, and he knows it's God's voice speaking, that's a certainty. And when God says, when God's Holy Spirit or Bethany uses my voice to paint that picture of all of heaven competing each week to be in the stadium that Matthew preaches live, and I paint the picture of all the other stadiums in heaven tuning in, and people that aren't in stadiums on their in their own homes watching TV, watching the live stream. You're talking about events where billions of people are watching the event.
Oh, wow.
Every time he preaches, there's going to be billions of people, it's going to be recorded and transcribed, and sometimes he's going to preach there for 3 days and 3 nights. He's just going to go for 3 days, and it's all going to be recorded, and it's all going to be transcribed, and there's all going to be courses on it, and he's just going to take us. We need him now. He's
Mm,
he's he's mentoring us from where he is, and um,
mm,
one of the only reasons he's still on earth now is for you to have this
mm,
time, and for you to accomplish your desires, and you to accomplish your goals, and for you to be trained and mentored. And you need a few more years for you to be strong, and for you to uh, develop everything you need to do. But we could have him here now. We could
mm,
use him here now, and he really has got. And as he goes through uh, the 150 more books, um, he's developing information. He's becoming a better person. You've seen the growth in him in the last week, and it's just going to get stronger and stronger. Even that idea that came in one of your interviews today, called Conversations with God, book 1 to 3, you realize that that's a stronger title for the book. And Matthew just got a title of what he wanted to do, was to bring a prophetic message to in the last days to the children of God. And that title of the playlist really suits
mm,
what it is. But it also is a conversation with God, especially the latter books where you give commentary and you ask questions and you have this conversation. And Matthew sits back and watches us speak, and oftentimes he doesn't even hear what we're going to say in his mind. It's not even a thought in his mind, it's actually out of his mouth, and he's sitting there in the background listening to what he's saying. And so he's in the audience too, and he'll be in the audience and watching you listen to God, and then you start asking questions, and Matthew senses and feels that you're not even talking to Matthew. When God's speaking, you're talking to God. And uh, it must be so fascinating. One day you may put a subscription in to be mentored uh, by Matthew, and one day your interviews may be a Zoom meeting, and 10 people can be in the Zoom meeting, and you asking the main question and giving most of the feedback. But guess people who are being mentored by both of you, paying a monthly subscription, can ask questions. Each session, they can ask one question. So based on what has been said by you and said by God, they can ask God a question, one of the questions that comes up. And when you're taught things, when you're shown things, it raises questions you want to know. So if you had 10 students in there, each student could put their hand up in the Zoom meeting and come out with a question. And 6 of the people in the room had the same question. So when you call on them, they have to change the question because someone really eager is doing it. So maybe in a year's time or 18 months' time, you may have a bit of a following. I know the apostle um, would do that. I know Victoria would do that, and possibly have 10, and they could, depending on their uh, country and what the exchange
mm,
rate is in the country, they could play like a mentor's fee and be mentored into everything Matthew knows, and coming to the conversations with God as a weekly or a couple of times a week. And that Matthew originally had that vision for that, and then it dropped away and it became YouTube. But as YouTube becomes strong over the next year, another year, perhaps you want to be bringing people in and training people to interview God and interact with God, and then bring the voice of God. Uh, so
mm,
there's great things ahead for you, and you make me so happy.
Thank
You
you.
know, you'll be welcome every night, every lunchtime, every breakfast in our house at the dinner table.
Thank you. Oh, wow. What did you say that really surprised me there? You said something that Matthew still here because of me. That really, really surprises me. I'm so grateful to God for that because for some reason I'm so nervous that Matthew is going to disappear one day. And probably maybe that is one of the reasons why I'm not wasting every dime of time I have with Matthew, even though Matthew says, I've still got so many years here. I don't believe all of that. Everyone can change their mind anytime. So for me, the time I have with him, I want to use it productively that when he's gone home, I can say yes. I maximize it to the best of my knowledge. So thank you so much, June, for everything. And thank you for being the mother Ben never had to him. I really appreciate it. And being a grandmother to you, Emmanuel, as well. I know you gladden his heart and you make his experience in heaven even so much better. And thank you for your son, which is making my life so much easier. This is the best weekend in a while for me because we've just been speaking nonstop since yesterday. And I really loved it because it's been a while where Matthew has been in this state. So it's really been wonderful. Who knows that the witch, what's the name of the witch again, will have made Matthew so excited like this.
Fiona, yeah.
God just walks in mysterious ways, like,
Yes, send that witch again.
yeah. That is so surprising. I wouldn't have thought that could happen. So yes, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Doing these things just gives me so much joy that I cannot even explain the joy in me. My spirit is just jubilating. So thank you so much,
You
June.
haven't had a weekend since that weekend that you did 17 videos.
Yeah, I remember that weekend.
So
Yeah.
same sort of weekend. That's when you lost Mary at one of those videos.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Matthew
we've not
wants you to concentrate on not not little books, but try and find the time to start the Conversations with God series.
okay.
It's important that people come to understand and come to have faith in Matthew and you, and to start building a team. And the saints don't really build faith in Matthew. They don't. They use Matthew for illustrations, but they don't talk much about Matthew. You don't get to know Matthew too well in the Saints books, but the Conversations with the Dinner Table book is going to really increase their faith. And when they hear me say things like that about Matthew, they're either going to think Matthew's crazy or it's true. And it's time for you to find 5 and 10 people that are regularly commenting on the videos and regularly writing reviews and regularly supporting Matthew. So if you're listening to this and you're reading Matthew's books, please write reviews on Amazon, and please buy the books of God's Last Days Message to His Children and write reviews on that. And when uh, when Conversations with God comes out, book 1 to 3, if you've read the 3, God's Last Days Message to His Children, you can go on to Amazon and write a review for Conversations with God, book 1 to 3, the same review, or a combination of the 3 reviews that you did on those books. So that's just a message for people in the future. You want to help Matthew? Write a review, write comments on YouTube. You want to help Matthew? Write reviews on Amazon. You want to be Matthew's friend? Reach out to him on Facebook and get to know him. You want to develop a conversation, a relationship with him? start to ask if you can be in the Zoom meetings and get to know Matthew and ask him questions and ask God questions. Matthew will just be answering. So I want to share with you that Emmanuel is like speaking to God himself. And, just like Matthew really adds to your life, Emmanuel is just got the answer to every question. We had Indian apostle visit Australia, who whose name was Mewtwo. Matthew's probably talked about him. He was the one that answered questions of Matthew for 6 hours in the car, and it was like meeting Jesus. When he said goodbye at the airport, Matthew didn't come out to watch him go. Matthew held back because he knew he was going to cry. And when he got halfway through on the tarmac, he went like that to the people. The people separated and saw Matthew behind, and he said, "I love you." And Matthew started crying, and you know how you leave a baby and you don't get to the baby fast enough, and the crying builds to like this real panic crying scream. Matthew started crying on the way out to the car, and when he was in private, he was screaming, he was crying, and Mutu had told him, "Don't talk to Jesus anymore. Don't listen to Jesus because it's not really Jesus speaking to you. It's a demon. And don't listen to God. It's not really God, and it's not Mary Magdalene. They're all imposters. So if you want to hear God, read the prophets. If you want to hear Jesus, read the New Testament, the Gospels, and don't ever talk to Mary Magdalene. If they talk to you, don't talk back." This guy was like Jesus. Matthew had met Jesus, and Matthew was in the car screaming, and he said to Jesus, "You better solve this. I can't cope with this pain," because Mutu was Jesus, and he'd finally met someone who had all the answers, and he was so loving, and he just wanted to go with Mutu. He asked, could he go with Mutu, and Jesus the next day gave him a scripture reference, Mark 16, verse 22 to 24, and he looked it up, and it was Legion, Legion, the guy with all the demons. And when Jesus healed him of all the demons, he went down to the boat and asked Jesus if he could come with him. And Jesus said, "Go back to your village and be like a testimony to your village." And Legion walked off sad and become an evangelist for his village. And Jesus said, "That's who Mutu is." Mutu was Jesus, and you need to get over this and get yourself together and be a testimony. And Matthew slowly become a Mutu, and he's a great person to know. And I broke his heart. I had to leave. I did enough, and his heart needed to be broken one more time. And he reached out to me, and we hardly talk. I look forward to these conversations at the dinner table, and I miss him like Matthew. Matthew has basically disappeared for 3 months. He's been doing work, and he's been doing a wonderful job over these books. And in the first book or two, God spoke for a while, but like you say, it wasn't months ago that you did the 17 videos where you've had a day and a half of Matthew being really high. And I miss him, and I say hello to him when he gets up from his computer to the toilet, and he scratches his back on the way up to the kitchen to make a coffee. And Bob talks to him when he scratches his back, because his father used to do that all the time. So if he gets up from his table to go to the toilet or make a coffee, he'll burst out and start speaking in tongues, and that's me saying hello, and he'll have a brief conversation, but our conversations are only brief, so it's wonderful to meet him today and have something to say. And Emmanuel is just so full of knowledge, you can ask him anything. And because there's 3 levels of teaching in his podcast, like we explained, when Emmanuel takes Matthew's words to another level, it's like the whole if you believe billions of people are in heaven, every one of the billion people, including children, listen to that whole podcast. Like heaven has almost retired. Like there's work going on and people are working their jobs, but for 4 hours a night, they're just watching that podcast on YouTube. It's not a radio. They're watching it, and they've got 4 people on like a Zoom screen, and they're all doing their part. And when one person speaks and teaches, the others ask question and give feedback, and it goes from the 3, and then the broadcast is over. And Emmanuel's teaching is at another level, and Ben teaching on what Matthew's saying, or what God is saying in the book, is amazing, and his insights that he adds. And Michael brings stuff and quotes famous songs. Michael knows thousands of songs, so he'll play a song which is saying the same message, and the people really get amazing. But Emmanuel reminds me of Mutu, and so your son brings me a lot of joy, and Ben brings me a lot of joy, and they film it down in the studio on the 2nd level of Matthew's house. He said before there's a film studio down in his level, and they film it there, and me and Bob can go and sit in the stadium, sit in the film studio and watch them speaking on the cameras. And most nights we have dinner and we go down there and do that most nights. And I'm in the very upper echelon management of heaven, and the Queen wants to move to a throne, and the Queen wants me to move to her job. And I'm just happy. I'd be happy just Matthew coming into this room as often as he can, and allowing me to speak from time to time. And it's like he's my son, but he's the Messiah. It's like Mary, Jesus' mother. Me and Mary have become close because she had to keep on pinching herself that he was the savior of the world, and she still pinches herself. Jesus is both her son and the King of Kings, and my son is both my son, but he's a former angel, and he's going to sit at the right hand of the King of Kings, and um, he really makes me emotional. And but I don't detach my apron strings. He'll always be my son, but when he's in heaven, he'll be giving me orders and telling me what to do. And I'll be doing functions that he sets up and he speaks at. And sometimes he'll speak in a grand ballroom, and it'll be like really high winners and high echelon of heaven all sitting for a meal, and Matthew will be the guest speaker, and maybe John Lennon or Michael Jackson will be a singer and entertaining, and it'll be a function, and I'll be the one who runs the function. Everything that gets done in the function will be done by me, and the guest speaker will be my son. And I'm getting trained up to head all those main stadiums that we've talked about. and to run all of that system and run everything. And from time to time, someone will open a business or a restaurant, and Matthew will come to cut the ribbon, and it'll be a big affair. The whole of heaven will want to turn out and watch it and meet and greet Matthew, and I'll be in charge of that. And it's going to be like heaven is just going to go to a new level. And hopefully then the world will discover like 200 books of Matthew speaking to saints, and they'll come to realize that you can dialogue with saints, and hopefully, hundreds of thousands of people on earth will start contacting saints in heaven, and then the saints in heaven, the 144,000 in heaven, will start to mentor the 144,000 on earth. And what they're going to mentor them in is the 300 books of Matthew, the gospel of love. They're going to mentor people how to walk in it and walk in the supernatural. Matthew walks in things he doesn't know Bible verses because he hasn't read his Bible for 20 years. Matthew's doing things he doesn't know verses for. Like who is a person that allows witches to come into his house, and just because Jesus says it's okay, and the witches come in 2 days ago and played up sexually with Matthew, and one of the witches said, I want my girlfriend to become your girlfriend, and I want you to start dating her, and starting to get Matthew happy. And I'm saying, he was saying, I wonder what Bethany thinks of that. I wonder if I can have a girlfriend on earth and then Bethany will be my wife in heaven. And she just stayed silent for a day, and then she put her foot down and said, no girlfriends for you, mate. But it got him into this elevated state. He missed a night of sleep. He was just in bed talking all night, and so who would have thought? But just my crazy son. We watched all that, and yeah.
Matthew is so crazy. Some of the things he says, I don't get it. I don't know the thing he's got with women. Oh my God. But so far they put him in good mood. That's okay for me. Whether he's cyber friend, what do you call that website again? Rent a cyber, wherever,
Rent a
wherever.
cyber friend.
Yeah, yeah, wherever just makes you happy. That's good. So far we could get some job done, Matthew. Thank you, June. Thank you. Thank you for all of those things that you said about Emmanuel. I think I'm still, it's so difficult for me to accept that that is my son. It's something that I never thought will ever happen. I really, really wanted a son, and I had three girls, and Ben knew that I wanted to have, even if it's just one boy. And it's so good to know that I have a son. So thank you, June. Thank you for the love. Thank you for everything that you do in Matthew's life, the encouragement that you give him. It keeps him going as well, because I know sometimes wherever I say just goes over his head. But when he hears from you, it makes him happy, even though he doesn't have much time to spend with you any longer. But I guess he still knows that mommy is there anytime he needs you. So thank you so much, June. So Matthew,
So have you
are
got
you?
any questions for anyone else today? I know my mother spoke for a while there. She got a bit talkative. There's a lot of revelation in what she said. It's
Yeah, I
for
need to go
people
back and
who are listening to this or reading this book, you 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 got to be careful, because Matthew's not going to be a cult leader and lead
mm,
hundreds of people into delusion and start a farm and ask people to give everything they have and sell it everything and start having sex with everyone's daughters and stuff. He's not going to be a cult leader, but Matthew can be convincing. You can slowly come into the new mind meld of supernatural encounters and uh, profound revelation. And So if you're accepting everything that Matthew said, that's a good thing, and we want to hear a comment on this video, and we want to see reviews for his books, and we want to invite you into a Zoom meeting. And the only reason we'd ask for a membership is because there's a covenant that's made when you exchange money, even if it's $5 a month. There's a covenant entered into, and the Lord honors that covenant and the anointings and the powers and the giftings passed down through that covenant relationship that's made through money.
Thank you, June. Hello, Ben.
Hi, darling. How are you? My daughter get a bit surprised that I was a bit of a mind reader.
Yeah, she is surprised, but I never expected her to ask that. That was surprising. Can you read my mind? I wouldn't have thought of that kind of question. She always comes up with interesting conversations. So good to talk to her. She talks like a grown-up adult sometimes. Yeah. So how are you?
I'm good. I was very pleased to hear what June had to say there. There was a lot of a revelation. I'm certainly really enjoying doing the podcast, and keeps me busy every night. I sit, Michael and Emmanuel don't do their parts without me, and we all interact in each person's segment. And in heaven time, it takes about 5 hours, so it's a big commitment. So I record music. I sit on the throne. I do other things. I teach the children drums, and we do the podcast. So I'm very busy. There's never a lack of something to do in heaven. Like, I don't know how people find the time to float on clouds.
Oh my God, Ben. I was just thinking about you today, and myself and Matty, whenever we're discussing, you come up a lot in our conversations because I was just thinking of so many things that God brought to my life through you. Thinking about you got me saved. You did so much in my life. You prayed for me, you encouraged me. Where I am today is because of a lot of work that you've imputed into me. You allowing Jesus to speak through you to me. And you never knew that Jesus spoke all of those things, isn't it? You never knew that you were doing those things. Did you know?
I had a strong sense.
You had a strong sense.
Yeah.
Man, man. So looking from heaven and looking at the impact you had over my life, how do you feel?
Um, I'm just happy that you nursed my wounds, and you nursed me and loved me and showed me what love was and kept me alive for all those years. And I'm so thankful that you support me and we work together in heaven in these conversations at the dinner table. And there's going to be a growing cult following of the two main series, the Conversations with God and the Conversations at the Dinner Table book series, and video series. And people who read the books may start to come and watch the videos and comment on the videos and write reviews in the books, and start to slowly join the Zoom meetings. And uh, perhaps people will come and on the Zoom meeting of the conversation at the dinner table too, and conversations with God, and the members, the supporting members, might join both Zoom meetings, and there may be 10 or 20 people on the Zoom meeting, and you on the main screen, and Matthew on the main screen. Whoever speaks will be on the main screen, and they could listen to the conversation at the dinner table and put their hand up and ask someone who's just been interviewed a question, and they get one question per meeting, and they some meetings they come and they want to talk to Jesus, and they may have to wait 5 meetings to speak to Jesus, and so because when you do these conversations at the dinner table, they're totally spirit-led. The only people that they can guarantee they're going to speak to is me and Emmanuel. And when me and Emmanuel are running the most popular podcast in heaven, we're probably 2 of the people that they should be talking to.
Thank you, Ben. And I wanted to ask you about that as well, because June just said Emmanuel is like Jesus. How do you feel having him as your son and working with him on the most popular podcast in heaven? Do you ever imagine that will ever happen?
I couldn't share a lot of things with you. God told me a lot of things, and Jesus told me a lot of things, and they promised a lot of things, and it seems that all the prophecies in my life are coming true. It's just they're true of heaven, not true of earth. And I was prepared for this, and I'm better prepared to meet a son that was brought up by God. And being in heaven's environment, it's easy to accept things. Having all the greatest saints of the Bible come up to you and want to have coffee with you, and some of the best musicians in heaven asking you to edit their songs, and um, trying to take you shopping to get a good jacket for you, or give you a gift, or buy artwork, or buy gifts for you. So they meet you and they give you something to honor you and stuff. It seems to wear on you, and people revere Emmanuel at such a high level. But that's the personality of God. Is everyone becomes a hero. People aren't ranked in order. That people are in 7 different realms, and when you are in the 7th realm, you can go to the 21st realm, and wisdom is fluctuates, and wisdom is stronger and stronger and stronger. But people are all loved by God, and Jesus elevates everyone. Jesus encourages everyone. So everyone gets given a role in heaven and lives out a role in heaven that totally satisfies them and makes them happy.
I think it's still very surprising to me, the life I'm living now. It's just I just want someone to pinch me to wake up. It's like I'm in a dream, but I'm not in a dream. It's reality, because he knew what we went through in the last few months of before you passed away. It was really intense. I don't even know how I survived those times with everything that I had to juggle with children. And but now seeing my life like 12 months down the line, it's something I never imagined that it is ever possible or ever going to happen. So I'm grateful to God, and I don't even know how to express my gratefulness. I am just full of joy for what God has done for me.
I bet your worship has got better. You haven't had as much time to worship, but it's better quality worship.
Yeah. I've been very busy.
You'll have to write down your favorite worship bands and the names of their albums, and send it on a long Facebook message from Matthew, and he'll have to put it into his Apple Music and put it and start to listen to the songs, so he can sing along to some of your favorite songs.
You know some of my favorite songs because I used to sing some.
Highs and lows, Lord, you take me on
No, no, no.
ever low.
That
Highs and lows, that's all I see Matthew in. Highs and lows, and he takes me to places quite unknown.
Matthew, thank you for singing that. It's highs and lows. God, you're with me wherever He goes. God is with us. Life is just full of highs and lows. So that song is so relatable to me. It's like it depicts my life. Sometimes I'm in high, I'm happy. Sometimes I'm not so happy. But that's what life is all about. So I love this song. That's one of my favorite songs, the. So, but I will pile up some for you so that you can be listening to them as well, Matthew. Then we can sing together.
I, you know, I get so happy speaking in my voice
Oh.
because it's so much pressure when you're speaking in a saint's voice or God's voice or Jesus' voice because you can't get things wrong. Like a saint can't be wrong, and Jesus can't be wrong, and the Father can't be wrong. And, you know, we understand that just God speaking. We understand that Matthew for years thought, well, for the past year, thought he had 121 books, and he sort of discovered that he had 135 books before he started doing books. Well, every time that 121 is mentioned in books or videos, that's wrong. So
Mm.
we're using Matthew's intellect to say things that are wrong. So there can be things in the Bible, and this is a revelation for people.
Oh,
There,
wow.
there, there can be things spoken by us in the Bible based on the prophet's intellect and wrong knowledge.
Mm.
So there can be things in the Bible that aren't perfect, depending on the vessel that brought forth the message.
Oh, wow, wow,
So,
wow, wow.
so if one of the apostles was uh, anti-women,
Mm.
the vessel could bring forth a flavor of a message that appeared anti-woman. And
Mm.
I won't mention who we're talking about.
Oh my God, I know the person you're talking about. But Father, it's just so good to know that because I've been sensing what you've just said now for some, I think last week when I was listening some people and was just thinking about Bible altogether. And that really makes sense because you used women beings like Matthew, like myself to bring the message. So sometimes they might be biased or they might be mistruth or some, and that's why it's so good to have that relationship with you, God, because one is able to understand each Bible verse in the right way, or wherever your intention was for that verse, one can clarify it in two-way conversation.
I can use someone's interpretation of a Bible verse to drive them into the sand. I can drive their head into the ground with their wrong interpretation of a scripture verse to humble
Oh,
them.
man.
Once they've been humbled and have started submitting and yielding to the Holy Spirit, we can tell them the real meaning of that Bible verse and bring them supernatural freedom. Well, one of their greatest books, one of their greatest testimonies, one of their greatest sermons will be the testimony of believing in that wrong interpretation. And they'll not only have that testimony, but they'll set everyone free who
Mm.
believes that wrong interpretation.
Man, man. God, you're just too patient. The way you're so strategic, you could wait for 10 years or for 24 years like myself to be in religion just to bring me out now. That's incredible. God,
We've
you're
got all the time in the world. We've got eternity to work on
I
people.
know, I know. But when you're on heart, you don't think that you've got eternity. You always think you've got a certain years to live here on earth. But you're right, one has got eternity. There's no need of rushing, even though I do rush sometimes.
Do you know what Matthew realized mentioning the word eternity? There was a guy in Sydney, Australia, that used to write in chalk on the pavements. He was unknown and no one discovered him, but he'd write in really nice English font eternity. and he went around all the time in public places, writing in chalk and big big letters on the pavement, eternity. And he just put there's a verse in the Bible. Matthew doesn't know it correctly. God has set eternity in the hearts of men, and so he just got a revelation one time to write eternity and stir people's hearts up to think about eternity, because atheists believe that when it's the end, it's the end. A lot of people who don't really believe in God or don't practice religion don't really accept that there's a heaven and a hell. And by him writing eternity, it had people read the word and ponder what are they going to do after they die. And
Mm.
Matthew wrote a book called Living for Eternity, and it was a book on how to manage your life and make a focus of your life so that you'll get maximum rewards in heaven. It's one of Matthew's best books. It's got some of Matthew's mother's hyper grace, false doctrine in it, but it's still a good book. And Matthew has found it's not a popular book because people don't like talking about rewards in heaven. Because false teaching, everyone's going to have perfect theology, everyone's going to be like Christ, everyone's going to be perfect. Because of that false teaching, people don't believe people are going to be better off in heaven, people are going to have greater. People like Kerr make people believe everyone's going to have a mansion. If you did
Oh.
nothing on earth, didn't achieve anything, didn't win anyone, didn't live your life's purpose, you hid your talent, you're lucky you make it to heaven. Paul says you make it to heaven by the skin of your teeth, right? Do you think you're going to be living in a fabulous mansion when where you're living is a reward for what you did? There's standard housing in heaven. There's people who live in high-rise apartments. There's people who live in the penthouse of those apartments at a greater reward. The top 5 floors of the apartments are bigger apartments, greater views and stuff. That's more reward. But if you have a lesser reward in heaven, you'll be in the first or second floor. Uh, so everything is fair, and I know what's fair, and I'm the
Mm.
one who's seen everything, and I'm the judge. And if you don't live your life preparing for eternity, you're a person who's hid your talent and squandered your talent. And a lot of those people don't end up in heaven.
Thank you, Father. We've come to that understanding. I have come to that understanding that you are a fair God. For so long, I guess I thought you were just a God for Christians. So, and it's good to know that you're God for everyone. You're the Father of all your creations, and you judge us fairly. But for a long time, Father, I've always read about you in the Old Testament. And sometimes I've heard on YouTube interviews or podcasts where people say, God is evil. How do you feel when people call you an evil God?
Was a verse in the scripture uh, that says something like, good and evil, I created both of them.
Hmm.
So evil is a part of my personality,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
part of my creation. Let's just say I don't do anything that acts against the law of love. Even wiping out all the population and all the animals in a country was trying to remove the Nephilim that was in that community. You remember Goliath was a Nephilim. He wasn't a normal human being. He was a giant, and so we had to remove the Nephilim and wrong spirits and possessions of things. So we had to wipe out the demonic things. So there's a reason for everything that happens in the Bible. Uh, yeah, we've already proven through Joyce Meyer's life, and we've talked about it, how her being raped 300 times made her into a beautiful person. And could you have the powerful woman that she is without all those rapes? So there's certain justifications in my sovereign will and my wisdom that allows injustice to happen in the world, um, and harmful things and things of trial and hardship and trials. It's only when you're been through a hardship or a trial that you're useful to someone else who's having the same trial. It's only when you've been through many storms that you can comfort other people when they're in a storm. It was a pretty big storm. It was a pretty big storm the day that the disciples woke me up, because they've been through storms before, and they woke Jesus up. I mean, um, the day they woke Jesus up, um, they said to him, "Don't you care that we perish?"
Mm.
He said, "Where's your faith?" And he rebuked the storm. But uh, he wanted to bring them to a greater level of faith. He's saying, "Come on, guys, you have access to this." Right? He went to sleep knowing that that was going to happen. He was
Oh, wow.
tired, but he knew in advance that was going to happen. It was a faith lesson that they think they're experienced sailors. They allow him to go to sleep. They basically said, "Go and have a nap, Jesus. We've got this." And it turns out they didn't have that. And sometimes people going through really tough storms need to
Mm.
call on someone who's been through a tougher storm. And that's who Jesus really is. He's the person who's been tougher storms. But um, that was a large spirit, a principality spirit over the region, trying to stop Jesus to get to Legion. They're on the way to deliver Legion. They're on the way to where Legion was, and that storm erupted to sink the boat because they didn't want Jesus to get there. So that guy not only had 10,000 demons in himself, he had a principality involved in trying to actively stop Jesus' boat from delivering him. So if you've got a major purpose in life, if you're going to transform heaven, you'll have all of hell break loose on your life to
Wow.
stop you from getting there.
Man, that makes so much sense,
And
Father.
sometimes you need to really draw close to the person who stills the storms, and you only get used to calling on him to still your storms when you're close to him.
Mm. That's beautiful. Father, you're always coming up with a lot of insightful things that always changes my perspective about things I'm learning each time. Father, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel now when you watch Emmanuel that you brought up and him blossoming in all of the things that you've taught him?
Well,
How do
he's a
you?
son. He's just like my son Jesus, you know. He's he's Jesus become the savior of the world, and he's the Prince of Peace, and he's the King of Kings, and he's got amazing power, but Jesus couldn't rule heaven. Jesus can't repeat himself.
Mm.
People don't respect Jesus in heaven,
Oh, wow.
you know, because he said and did it all. He saved them. They said their sinner's prayer. They made it to heaven. They're happy in realm one. They've got everything they ever desired. It's like they dreamed all their life of living in Hawaii. Then they won a lotto ticket and they got a house in Hawaii. Now they're happy living in Hawaii. They don't have to go to realm seven. They don't want to
Mm.
put any work. They want to go any. So Jesus trying to preach, come on, you've got to obey me. You've got to do what I told you. You've got to do this. He's, you know, they've heard it all. We know
Mm.
what you said, Jesus. We're here.
Mm.
But they need someone fresh to
Mm.
be a Messiah and to bring them into a new level. And Emmanuel's getting, uh, you know, a role at being a second generation of Jesus.
Mm.
We had to take him from you. because you're
Oh,
the breeders. Like people like the Queen understand this, that racehorses are born from good stock, and horses that have won major races and won a lot of races become a mare, and a whole lot of become a stallion, and a whole lot of mares that won good races, the stallions are hired to have a baby with that, and two champions are bred in the hope that they can breed a champion. And some some stallions cost $500,000 to impregnate. You'll see some horses cost $2 and $5 million to buy as an untested young filly, like young horse, and it's not until they get to the races that they ever prove their worth. And uh, horse racing is the sport of kings, because you basically got to be a billionaire to afford expensive race horses, and kings race horses and stuff. Well, your Emmanuel was brought from one of the best kings and one of the best queens, and we
oh,
had to take him from you to raise him in heaven for 15 years for him to become the King of Kings. He was bred from you. He's not an angel. He's a real human,
mm.
but we had to take him and bring him up as an angel without sin, and I had to personally tutor him to become my second son.
Steve, I wasn't expecting that, Father. You're
But you ask
always,
good questions, and you're led by the Holy Spirit or Bethany to ask your questions. So you weren't expecting that answer, but everyone listening got that answer.
oh,
The Queen,
thank
especially, like that. The Queen would
oh,
like to speak into that, actually.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
God, and Emmanuel. Emmanuel's fascinating to talk to, and Philip really loves asking Emmanuel questions. And Philip comes into the podcast from time to time, has a guest appearance, and he's spent some quality time with Emmanuel. And Philip used to allow me time and allow me expenses to breed racehorses and racehorses, and I really loved to go to the track, and I used to go and watch my horses race. Well, I'm watching your son race,
Oh,
and he's
wow,
winning races, and
man.
he's you should see. There's not enough time in heaven to read the comments on those live broadcast videos.
Man.
There's not enough time for me to read all the comments, but heaven's got an algorithm where you can search the word manual, and it'll bring up everyone's comment as commenting on something Emmanuel said. So you can just read 20 comments of what Emmanuel said in any part of the 3-part podcast, and you can read comments, and it would really make you proud. And it's nothing you do, it's genetics. It's nothing you did, it was genetics. What made him so great was he was pulled from you. And
Mm.
what made Jesus so great was he was pulled from me.
Wow.
Jesus lived so much of his life without communication with me. He was pulled from me. He was pulled
Mm.
away from his family. He was taken from heaven and thrust into earth, into a poor family's life, undiscovered, lived most of his life undiscovered. Just as he came to popularity, he was taken. And Emmanuel was taken from you, but you're the champion racehorses. So, the whole world knows, the whole of heaven knows that you're his mother, and Benjamin's the father, and the whole of heaven watches these conversations at the dinner table, and this is shown in a podcast in everyone's living room, and they can not only see you on their video, they see Matthew on the video, but they can actually see a picture of the dinner table and who's actually speaking.
This is really deep. Makes me
It's good
so.
when it's good when Matthew's a bit manic, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. I wish it could be manic every day, but it's not possible. Because he has to do without no sleep, and I love my sleep. I don't know how he's awake for 1 day, 2 days. I don't even think I could do 1 day without sleeping. But he's been awake for 2 days not sleeping. He's such a powerful man of God. Oh, thank you so much, Queen. The way
So,
you explain.
just for people who read this book or watch this video, there's a real giftedness in mental illness.
Mm,
Hosea 9:7 says, "The days of punishment has come. Israel knows. The prophet is a fool, and the inspired man a maniac," says in the NIV version. Well, a maniac is someone on a spiritual high, or someone who's manic, someone with bipolar who's elevated because of mental illness. So that verse says, when punishment is coming, Israel will be in war, and Israel will know about it, and the prophet will be called foolish. The prophet will be called the fool, and the person getting revelation of God, someone being inspired, will be called bipolar, who's having a manic episode. So um, Matthew had tried for years to be healed and asked to be prayed for healed, and when he read that, he was healed.
mm,
It described him. He's a prophet, he's called the fool, and he's a maniac, so he knows he's inspired. And a lot of people, they say cliches all the time, but they don't understand the cliches. And uh, Jesus' words have become cliches, and people can quote what Jesus says, but they don't understand what they're saying. They don't know the depth and the profanity, the profound implications of every sentence of Jesus. But one of the cliches that is said is, there's a fine line between genius and insanity.
mm,
When he's insane, he's a fool. When he's manic, he's fool. When he's saying, like the person who created the radio, he said that Watson, Matthew thinks it is, I can speak through the ether. I can speak from one city to another through the air. They said he was insane and crazy, but when he did it, they hailed him a genius. So inventors are trying to realize their vision, and some inventors are like crackpots. People think they're crazy, but when they're proven true, when their invention works, they call them a genius. So um, Elon's on the spectrum,
mm,
but uh, but he could very well be bipolar and be a genius.
mm,
Um, and he's a genius, and his inventions work. And so Matthew's a genius. Matthew's bipolar, and he's inspired. And I hope you're enjoying what I have to say.
yes, I am enjoying it. Emmanuel, what have you got to say to all of this?
Well, it's. I just want to say to you, Matthew, it's just such an honor
Mm,
to to teach what God is saying at a higher level. I was brought up by God, and I understand Him at a level that no one really understands Him. And I could sit on His throne, God could retire, and I could rule heaven on His throne. I've been brought up with all His wisdom. And So when God speaks through you at your limited intellect and your limited knowledge of the Word of God, and He chooses to speak through you with your theology, I can get what He's saying, understand what He's saying, and what ChatGPT is saying, and I can take it to another level. So God is speaking at an intellectual level, a high level theological level, and explain things at a high level, but with simplicity, like Jesus has simplicity, but in a really profound way. And that's referenced with all the Bible verses and stuff. So um, we teach on that. I explain it live on the podcast over a couple of hours, and then all of that is taken and made into new books, and theologians take apart those books and go further and add. And these conversations with God are just going to continually to get more and more refined and more practiced and grow more and more. And it's just like a ball rolls down the hill of snow, it just gets bigger and bigger. There's the conversations with God book series is just becoming a snowball in heaven, and conversations with uh, the dinner table are going to be the same one. And hopefully you can start up balls that will do the same thing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Manuel. It's good to hear what you're doing. You're doing so much great things in heaven. And sometimes I don't even know what to say because things that I hear, it just, I'm surprised.
The
I'm amazed.
greatest, the greatest thing I ever agreed to was to be formed in your womb
Mm,
and to be taken and never to know my mother and father by
mm,
choice. Break
man.
their heart, break my heart. All these years I grew up without you. I had God, and He's a lovely God, but He's not my mum.
Mm,
And you did a wonderful job missing me, and you do a wonderful job with your questions. And um, you're such you're so led by Bethany with your questions, and you're so in tune with the Holy Spirit. You ask such great questions. A while ago, you said you weren't expecting that answer, um,
mm.
but you probably didn't expect yourself asking the question that provoked the answer.
No, I don't. I don't expect it at all, at all. A lot of times, I don't even know what to say in dinner tables. When we're coming to dinner tables, I don't, because Matthew likes when I come empty-handed and just allow the Holy Spirit to take charge. Because before in the past, I'm used to asking serious questions. But now I'm learning to ask questions like, Matthew, what do you think of my cup of tea? You know, all of those type of questions.
Yeah.
That's what Matthew
What
likes.
what
So
what do you think of Daisy, man? Daisy hasn't contacted Matthew for months. He's written a couple of Facebooks and messages, and she's just so busy. And busy people. Matthew had a friend in his life, Michael Van Vlymen. He's a famous author. Uh,
yeah.
you can check him out. He's one of the few authors Matthew's known in Christian circles that self-published a book and was able to retire on the royalties of his books. And
Mm,
he used to be a good friend, and Matthew spoke to him about once a month on Facebook video, and he just got busy and launched into full-time ministry. And Matthew's only spoken to him on a phone call for about 20 minutes in the last 2 years, and he really misses him. Like, Matthew has friends and then he loses them, and it just
mm,
breaks his heart. And Michael Van Vlymen, Matthew was only thinking about it today when God was saying some things that basically disagree with what Michael believes. Um, Michael's going to be so happy to be in Realm 7 and
mm.
know that Matthew's his good friend, and he can approach Matthew anytime, and Matthew want to spend time with him. And my Michael said to Matthew about 10 years ago, do you know, Matthew, there's only about 20 of us in the world. Matthew didn't know what he's talking about. And he said, what, what do you mean? He says, there's only about 20 people at our level in the world. Matthew didn't understand that he was at any profound level. He's just a bipolar guy that believes things and argues with people and thinks he knows a few things, but he never thought that he was in the top 20 Christians in the world. And Michael was one of them. And Michael hangs with a couple of people and does conferences. And the only prophet, I'll say this as God, the only prophet in the world is Sadhu Sundar Selvaraj that's allowed to preach on the book of Revelation. He's the only one that's allowed to preach with it without losing his eternal life. And he, he, so Michael preaches with him, and he set up a TV station called Angel TV, and he set it up to broadcast the messages of the two witnesses. We gave him a commission to set that up ready. So they'll be coming soon because the radio station's there and Solvarage is ready. So Michael's a dear friend and he's going to be reunited with Matthew. Matthew's just going to wait until Michael comes to heaven. But there's going to be some people that were dear friends of Matthew in the past, and they're going to be so happy that they were dear friends because Matthew will be, you know, a billionaire, like his friends from school uh, that maintained friendships while he became popular. They're happy to catch up with him. He's just a regular person with them, and he'll go out for dinner with them, and they've got a really close relationship. And they loved him and he trusted them when he had no money. So now he's got a lot of money, he still trusts them. Um, yeah. And Matthew's got a few friends that he looks forward to them dying and meeting him in heaven.
Father, why have you been so emotional this week? The last few messages we've done is quite deeper in comparison to the past conversations.
When we commissioned the 7 books, we said they'd get deeper and deeper, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we're reaching into a place where enough questions have been asked and I've been allowed to talk freely. And remember, Matthew allows me to say things that are heretical, and he doesn't hold back and he lets it said. And he could never do this if he had millions of followers. There'd be
No.
videos and he'd just be pulled down and called a heretic by thousands of people. Um, and so I've been getting more off my chest, and Matthew's becoming more aligned like me. He's really feeling like me. He's feeling like he's got all the answers, and his hands are tied behind his back, and he's understanding how I really feel, and and I need to communicate my feelings for him to understand that we're similar in our feelings and similar to what we're going through, and it's all unbelievable to him what's been shared in this conversation. And these conversations are getting deeper and deeper and more profound. And it's just a really good thing for the people following this series and these conversations. They're going to have like a richness to their life because they're testifying and they're having testimony to what's going on. And some people could be in therapy for a couple of years before they start opening up about what their real trauma is. And my trauma is so deeply seated that I had to do like a 5-book introduction to who I am before I could really speak plainly. You noticed Um, I got angry today, um, and like in the video, if you watch the video of the question, you'll see that I raised my voice and I got angry. You can only get angry with a friend.
Mm.
You can only raise your voice or use cuss words, and I was using cuss words, uh, uh, and blipping out the word. But I wanted to use one at one stage. I wanted to use the real word, but it was God the Father speaking, and he wouldn't cuss. Um,
Mm.
I wanted to use it, um, and Matthew didn't allow me. Um, and I'm feeling more in my skin. I'm feeling more understood. I'm feeling more seen, and I'm hidden. Like I dwell in invisible light. Some Christians interpret verses in the Bible that say I haven't got a physical body, um,
Mm.
and the verses really say that if you if you take them literally. But Matthew has seen me sit in his living room. He's seen my face and he's seen tears running down my eyes. So he knows I can manifest in a physical body. So you you're becoming trusted. You're becoming like a therapist. I'm starting to trust you, and so I've been getting more emotional.
Thank you, Father. And thank you for fashioning me in this way, because even when people ask me questions that why am I so excited, like what Steve just asked me today, I don't know the answer, to just know that this is just what makes me happy, which might make me seem weird, but that's the way I'm created and I'm grateful for that. So thank you, Father, for giving me the opportunity to be able to speak to you and help heaven, help Matthew to fulfill his destiny. I'm grateful for that opportunity.
And you're fulfilling your destiny and you're just getting ready for your second act, for your third act. You're going to go on and do greater things in your third act when Matthew's gone.
Mm. Thank you, Father. Hello, Jesus.
Hey, daughter,
How are you, Jesus?
I'm in a like really happy mood.
Oh, why are you happy?
Because Matthew's finally heard what his destiny is, and he's starting to see the fulfillment of all the prophecies in his life, and he was able to share with you that all the prophecies over his future wife and what he wanted in his future wife, they're all being fulfilled in you and Bethany. And he sort of got the perfect life. He doesn't have to spend money on books anymore. Uh, he goes out for dinner 3 days a week. He gets cheap food. He doesn't really have to dress well. He doesn't really have to clean his house. Um, he's doing remarkable series, even though a lot of people aren't reading his books. He knows the quality.
Mm.
He's read like 150 pages of book two and about 150 pages of book three, and it's profound. And he's so happy with your commentary and what you said, and the Holy Spirit arranged, or Bethany arranged the progression from the Father speaking more to you speaking more. And it's more interesting because you describe, without you knowing, you describe what God just said in simpler terms, and you bring it, you land what God says. You bring it to be understood. Some of the things God says are a bit deep and profound for people, and you share your commentary, and it makes it more relatable. So um, Matthew finds when he's reading the books, he finds reading your commentary his favourite part. Um,
Oh,
so if he's feeling that way, other people are feeling that way. So um,
oh,
you
Jesus.
edited book four and you said you talk too much and you could never talk too much.
Yeah, Matthew told me so. You're speaking so much. Well, I'm like, you need to ask Bethany because it just floats into my head and I say whatever comes into my head.
Yeah, Bethany
Sometimes,
gets the blames for a lot of things, but she's she's sitting here in a like pretty yellow, flowery summer's dress, and it's uh it's flowery and it's got big roses on it, red roses, and it's colourful. She looks like a bit of a clown. She's really pretty. She's just spread her wings out, which are all glistening blue, and she's saying, "Don't speak about me like that, and I can speak about you however I choose to speak about you, Bethany. You're my creation."
oh my God, Jesus. What was Jesus? Let me ask you this question. What was it like training me up for 24 years when you speak to me? Was I a good student or I really gave you a lot of challenge?
I had to be long suffering.
Oh,
I had to be patient. But I'm the Alpha and the Omega. I know the beginning from the end, and some things have to be taken slow. Like when
mm,
you boil a frog in water, you can't turn the heat immediately up or it'll jump out. And so it's got to be really gradually done. And some of the best cakes are cooked in 10 minutes, but it's like an hour in the oven. And it tastes really nice and it's got good texture. And some of the best things like diamonds and pearls um, and different great things, precious stones, have got to be formed over time with pressure and time and pressure and um, have you ever seen like a beach with a whole lot of colored stones on it? How stones have been rounded by the continual crashing waves, and there's a whole lot of colored stones
by the
on
beach?
what's on a beach. Yeah,
Yeah.
just Matthew doesn't know how they form, but it looks really beautiful, and that's formed by a gradual process too. So. Um, the reason we took 24 hours, 24 years to have you steeped in religion, because we're setting you free now
Mm.
and we're getting you freer and freer. And then one day you're going to be Moses and you're going to go in and set everyone else free. You're going to write books about how to get free. You're not just going to have these videos to set people free. You're going to have it in the book, How to Get Free, and then you're going to have 300 videos that people can watch to go through the process. Um,
Mm.
and you've got such a great testimony, and it's coming out in these books and in these videos. And we allowed 24 hours for you to have 24 years. We allowed 24 years for you to have a lot of stories to share in how painful it was and how you're on a being a hamster wheel. You see a hamster running around in the wheel, and that's what religion is, just chasing one's tail forever, feeling condemned and guilty and shamed if you're not doing enough. Today, Matthew opened his Bible 5 times and he really enjoyed his Bible. So 20 years without the Bible will make you like a supernatural teacher. In
Mm.
the meantime, he's been living on the word. So just as long as you've been saved, Matthew hasn't been regularly reading his Bible. So yeah. Matthew speaks with a lot of ums and ahs. His brother watched one of his videos or a couple of his videos, and he had two comments. He said, "You've got bad lighting on your videos. You need to get better lighting, and your videos are full of ums and ahs. I couldn't watch it. Like it's so
Oh.
unprofessional." I said, "So you watch one or two videos and that's all you've got to say. I've got 3,000 videos and you say I've got bad lighting and it's ums and ahs and you can't watch it." I said, "What about the message?" He
Mm.
said, what about the message?" Did you understand the message? I couldn't endure it. It's too many
Mm.
pauses and ums and ahs. I couldn't watch it. Um, and narcissistic, all about him.
I wanted to say, Jesus, I've never noticed arms and hearts because I'm just focused on what Matthew is bringing. Although when I'm editing, I could see it in the wordings, but I never noticed it in the main message because I'm so much captivated by what the saints are saying or whatever Matthew is saying part time that I'm not even thinking of arms and hearts. Even
Mm.
oh wow.
Rodney Matthews' brother has been used to sharpen him and refine him.
Mm.
You know, everyone who gets angry at Matthew calls him fat, and Matthew knows he's fat. So why would that upset Matthew? Matthew's sort of happy he's fat. You know, the only
Oh,
thing it gives him a sore back to walk now. It makes it hard for him to walk any distance. But the only thing is, if he ever went to swim in the beach, he'd wear a t-shirt into the beach. He wouldn't
mm,
take his top off in the beach because that would be like insulting to people. But besides that, he's got no problem with being obese, and people can't handle that. People can't handle someone being obese
mm.
and happy. You know, they can't handle it.
That's a gift.
Yeah, or mentally ill and happy with it, not needing healing, not needing to be prayed for and not needing to be healed. And Matthew was lied to 3 times by a false spirit, pretending to be me, saying that he was healed and by faith he's got to go off his medication. 3 times he went crazy and got locked up in a psych ward. He finally said to me, in humour, but he was serious too, next
Mm,
time you want me to go off my medication, you've got to appear in a flesh body and come into the psychiatrist and talk to her and convince her I can go off my medication. If you
mm,
don't do that, I'm never going off my medication. Even if I'm healed, even if a person says I'm healed, I'm still going to take my medication.
mm,
And we settled that matter. I didn't tell him to go off his medication 3 times. It was a demon. And the Pentecostal church, and this is a point I want to make, that the Pentecostal church want everyone effing healed, and they can't
mm,
even tithe.
mm.
They honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And they pile all this guilt and condemnation on to people who aren't healed,
Mm.
saying they haven't got enough faith.
Oh, wow. Man. Thank you, Jesus. I always love to speak to you and to hear from you.
You liking? Are you liking the Commandments series?
Yes, I do love it. I can't wait to turn that into book. It's going to be a good book.
Yeah,
Y- Yeah,
it'll be a good book. It's a long work in progress, isn't it?
yeah,
It's hard to get Matthew in the mood.
we're number 29 or 30 now, so we just got 20 to go. Almost
29. You got
is it
30.
29?
You got 33 to do.
It's 50, isn't it?
Yeah, 24 to do. 20.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
21.
21 to do. Yeah, Matthew's
Yeah.
getting a bit tired. See how we further said that a prophet, we depend on the prophet's intellect. Because Matthew's tired, you heard Jesus say something wrong. How could Jesus get something wrong? Because he's using a human vessel that's been up
Mm.
for 2.5 days.
Oh, he's done really well, isn't it? To
I
be
really
out.
love you, Tulu.
I
You've
love
sinned
it.
so much. You've done so much. You've been so obstinate, arrogant, prideful, stubborn. I've had to wean all those things out of you. I had to tell you 10,000 times to obey your husband.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I haven't told you 10,000 times to obey Matthew because Matthew doesn't rarely tell you what things to do.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, but he's used to Bethany, he's used to the Holy Spirit, he's used to getting ordered around.
Yeah, yeah, I knew. I know you told me thousands of times to obey Ben. I just find it difficult to be obedient.
Leave it a couple of years. We promise. It's because I'm speaking. We promise you've got 5 years. It's
5 years.
2000. It's 2024. Matthew will live to 2030 at least, right?
Oh,
We promise you got 5 or 6 years.
oh, thank you.
Leave
Thank
it a
you.
couple of years and have the girls used to Matthew interacting with you for 2 to 3 years. And then bring them all over here on a 2 week holiday and go out for lunch and dinner and places every day and let them come to know Matthew as like a spiritual father.
Oh, that would be
By,
beautiful.
by that time, they'll all want to meet him and talk to him.
Oh, especially Lana,
Yeah.
Matthew Scott.
Well, the other ones like me, like Matthew. It's Matthew speaking now. They like me. They're just shy. They don't know what to say. You know, I've asked people. Do you look forward to heaven and meeting Jesus? And everyone says, yeah, yeah. So what would you ask him? I don't know.
Nothing.
They've got no idea what they're asking because they're stunned because they don't know what they'd ask him. And the same thing as your daughter is, your daughters, it's just reverential fear. They don't know what to say. It's the guy that's captivated his mother's heart, and they just don't know what to say. But Alana's just so innocent. She's so bold. She just asks whatever comes to her mind.
Yeah, she does. She does. I can never forget what she told me some while ago. So she does say a lot of things that I marvel. Yeah, you're right. So, Matthew, do you want to ask somebody a question?
Uh, So, how Michael Jackson? How is the podcast going? Well, it's
Hmm.
really interesting, Matthew, because I get a copy of the book um, as it's transcribed before, as the videos are recorded each day. I get the transcript of what is going to be produced in the eventual book. So about 5 weeks before the book or 3 weeks before the book comes out, I've had each transcript and I go through hundreds and thousands of songs. And on the podcast, I play a couple of songs that illustrate a couple of points in the transcripts, and I'm able to break down what's said and meditate on what's said. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into my part of the podcast, but people really enjoy it because I incorporate heaven's hits and incorporate a music that's been written in heaven based on the book. There's a lot of people writing lyrics based on what God has to say, and so I'll play, and the people of heaven know this, and the musicians in heaven know this, and me and the team have written songs on things that have been said in the book. And so I'll be able to read the book, teach on the book, and then play a song that illustrates that point. And so uh, when it comes to planning, heaven has just got it. It's got
Hmm.
the best microphones, it's got the best cameras, it's got the best podcasts, it's got the best YouTube, it's got the best Facebook, it's got the best database, it's got the best competitions, it's got the best prizes, it's got the best looking people, it's got the best looking women, it's got the best tutors, it's got the best mentors, it's got the best of everything. and it's just for a person who's used to the spirit of perfection. I've learned to work in excellence and do the best job, and heaven just turns on the best job. And so we've got the best studios with the best mics and the best everything. And your studio in your house was just built for that. I had one in my house, but that was just a music studio. You've got a music studio, a sound recording studio, and a TV studio in your house. And so uh, your house is my office, and there's bedrooms here, and there's a commercial kitchen downstairs, and there's a commercial kitchen on the third floor in your parents' house, and we can come over here, have breakfast, uh, do sessions, do things, go in, record music, have a coffee with people, meet up with people. Then 2 o'clock uh, uh, we work all day, and then have a dinner with your parents, and then we go downstairs and do our 5 hour podcast to late into the night, and we go to bed and repeat the whole wash and repeat. We do the same thing, and people with potential, people who are living the destiny, people who really want to impact people's lives and improve people's lives, people that aren't in realm one necessarily. Um, they're busy, busy, busy.
Mm.
They're, just like Tulu is busy, and you keep yourself busy. Um, you slowly work through TV shows, and you spend your spare time watching podcasts and learning things. And um, every day you arrange to be awake and ready at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you sort of wake Tulu up if she's not awake by 5:30. It's like you've been spending all day getting ready, and then you want to get the work done, and sometimes you got to wait 3.5 hours for her to finish her meetings to get, but you do that every day. And Toulouse just busy, 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 and you're busy, 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 and everyone's a busy bee in the Christian church, but they're into other people's business. They're busy bees. It says in the Bible that don't hang around the widows because all they do is gossip, and so. I'm really enjoying myself, and uh, we're discipling heaven. Yeah, churches will have a discipleship course for new Christians, and it's like the whole of heaven are new Christians. They're coming into a new way of life, and they're being discipled, and it's mandatory. It's part of heaven. And there's obstinate people, there's people in their flesh in realm one, and they can opt in to be trained. They can opt out, and they the people who don't opt in to go through this training, they'll just be forever in realm one. And
Mm.
someone else was talking about how he doesn't like them. Uh, Steve Steve Jobs was talking about there's certain people that'll always be there. Um,
Mm.
they're some of the people that aren't tuned. It's mandatory, but you got free will, so you say I don't want to do it. And but the people who really want to add value and really ascend through the realms and really want to help people and really you want to change heaven and earth. Um, they're busy, busy, busy people, and we need 24 hours because some of us do 18-hour days.
Mm. Oh, wow. Thank you, Michael. Have you got any words of encouragement for me and Matthew?
I just want to say to you, Tulu, that you'll have enough time with Matthew to uh, perhaps you're working so fast, you're like doing 2 books a month, and um, you're like doing 5 books every month. Um, so perhaps you'll do over 300 books, Matthew's total. Perhaps you'll do more than 150 books, maybe 400 books. But you'll always be busy and always have things doing, and um, perhaps you can invite people to be mentored in the supernatural and mentored into what you're doing. Um, and Bethany can go out, or you can dispatch an angel to be their scribe angel, and they can come up with good questions. And as they're mentored, they can uh, bring questions in the interview with God uh, uh, thing. They can pre-submit their questions and have their questions approved. And um, but things are just gonna get better and better, and uh, and you're going to be used in stage 3 of your life to work with the army of God and reap a harvest on earth. And you're going to be very effective, very busy, and for once in your life, your finances aren't going to just be used to preach another man's gospel, but you're going to be raised up financially. Um, uh, and it takes faith for Matthew to say this, but you're going to be raised up into a place of popularity and finances that you'll be putting major finances into your own ministry and mobilizing an army to reap the world and bring in a harvest.
Oh, man.
Or you can just be in obscurity, just publishing your books and not be popular. So
Want me to pick one, Michael?
it's free will. We know that you picked the obscurity one.
Obscurity, of course. That's me. I just like to be behind the scene. Nobody sees me. Matthew did something recently. I told him about this Justin of a thing who critiques every man of God. And Matthew went to comment on his videos. You can as well look at my video and critique. I'm like, Matthew, why are you always poking the
I
devil?
just Matthew just did a video to address the heretics, and it named him in the title.
Matthew, I
How to
don't know
bring
why.
unity to the church, and especially the heresy hunters like Justin Peters. And he not only did a 38-minute video about uh, the job of the church and how heresy hunters disobey everything what Paul said, but he sent Justin Peters an email saying, I just released this video on YouTube, and you
Matthew.
can write to me and comment if you like. He hasn't had a video back from Justin Peters at the moment.
And that's what I'm saying, Michael. He
Uh,
likes to poke the devil.
you know, if it really worked, if Matthew got his way, Justin Peters would do a bad video about Matthew, but it's not going to happen.
Thank God. Matthew lies to, I was like, why did I even tell Matthew about Justin? I thought Matthew knew Justin because he's watched a lot of podcasts. But that is where myself and Matthew is different. Matthew wants to be popular. I want to be hidden. I love it. There's strength in being hidden. I just use my time wherever way I want it. So thank you, Michael. It's really been great speaking to you.
I really enjoy you, Tulu. We watched we bilocate, and we've got television screens like big screen TVs, and whenever you're talking to Matthew, we're tuning in and watching. We may be doing something else, but we're watching you too, and we watch a lot of what you say to Matthew, and we listen and we get educated, and I really enjoy you. I enjoy your sense of humor. I look
Thank
forward to being your friend. I look forward to
um
spending time with you. Benjamin is just like my dad to me, and Bob is like my dad to me, and uh, you're his wife, and so you're like a mother to me, and I'm just so happy. I thought, I thought heaven was so good. I was getting number one hits and I was having a big effect. And then you interviewed John Lennon, and John Lennon talked about partaking in the sufferings of Christ. And we approached John, and it took my music to another level. And now heaven is into outright revival, and it all came from your questions, and it all came from that interview. And I never thought my life could be exceedingly greater than more than I could ask or think. And uh, I have to pinch myself, is it really happening? And there's so much I do, and Benjamin has just brought joy. He's just full of joy. Kids love him in the class, and he teaches them the drums. And there's certain students that have got an aptitude for it. There's certain students that haven't, and uh, Ben's got 8 kids that are doing really well. And the best child has laid down a track of drums on one of our songs, and the song went to a number 140, and
Wow.
they heard their song on the radio in heaven. They heard themselves drumming, and we played it in the class, a recording of it, and it encouraged all the other 7 drummers to get better, because you can get your song on the radio, and it's like a big thing, like in the whole school, like amongst all the students. Like one of our students become like a drummer on a hit song, and it was one of the sufferings of Christ songs, and we're teaching some pretty heavy stuff. So that's why I got 140. And but all the students involved in the music program in heaven all want to play instruments, and they all want to be in recordings of professional things. And children didn't know that they can be in an adult music video or an adult song and played on the airwaves of heaven. And we're the first to crack that open, and happened because Ben came and was such a good teacher of drums, and one of them had the aptitude and picked it up. And now they all got a healthy interest in drumming. And Ben did that. And Ben's like Midas. Everything he touches turns to gold.
And is that true?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Thankfully, it is. My fortunes have turned away. It's like I win the lottery every day. It's like I go in and pick a lottery ticket every day in heaven, and bang, I come up winner, winner, winner. Everything I do, every idea I come, I used to have ideas for other people and be successful. Now I have all the ideas for myself, and I've got to stop getting ideas. It's the first time in my life I've got to shut it down. I haven't got enough time for my ideas because all of them succeed.
Because you won't be able to contribute to all
I
of them.
can't I can't go out to a cafe by myself without a famous musician coming up to me to edit their song. And you know, I'm never alone. Like, even when I go out to have time by myself and just relax, you know, uh, when I'm not with Emmanuel, I'm not with Michael, I'm not with anyone, I just go to a restaurant for a meal or a cafe just to relax. There's always a musician who's been directed there by the Holy Spirit to meet up with me, and for me to edit their song. And they would never approach me if it
Mm.
wasn't set up and ordained by the Holy Spirit. But um, they come and we spend, half an hour working on their song or an hour working on their song. And I have a good meal. They have a good meal. Uh, I'm getting shown different meals by the guests that are meeting me. They're saying, try this dish. This is a great dish and stuff. So I'm always experimenting with my food. And you knew me not to be a person who was very experimental. And I've got
Wow.
total international palate, like international cuisine now. And I know a whole lot of dishes and I love a whole lot of things. And my attitude in heaven is so different. It's like some kids you teach kids to swim and that they're only comfortable in the shallow end where their feet can touch the ground, and some kids you teach how to like um, swim and they go and jump in the deep end and they've got to swim or they'll sink. Um, and I've just jumped in the deep end when it comes to food. I've just accepted that there's going to be people who want to go to certain restaurants in heaven, and I never particularly like that cuisine or that culture's food, and I'm just learning to accommodate the guest and be loving to them and try the dish that they suggest. And supernaturally, my palate has increased, and I love whatever they love because I love them.
That's beautiful. It's good to know that it's not just African dish, that you can eat other type of food.
Yeah, it's a bit of a miracle. That's a sign and a wonder.
Yeah, it is a miracle because I know you with your food, it has to be a certain food all the time. So I'm glad you've changed. And I'm glad that
I,
all
I
you do.
can't I can't take everyone to a Nigerian restaurant. Of course, people know I like Nigerian food, but some people don't like Nigerian food, and I accommodate what people want.
That's good. Have you taught Michael a lot of Nigerian food?
He likes it. He likes some of the dishes that um, the chef in uh, the first floor of Matthew's house knows how to cook. The chefs down there know how to cook Nigerian food, how I like it, and um, Michael has tasted all sorts of dishes down in our own kitchen, and June's kitchen, the chefs in June's kitchen know how to cook it too. So Michael's getting really used to what I love, and I still love it. But when I go out to restaurants and meet people, um, I most often uh, meet and eat in their cuisine that they're comfortable with.
Oh, that's good. I hope you're teaching Emmanuel Nigerian food as well. Oh my God, that's so
Emmanuel
interesting.
likes hamburgers.
Oh, well, that's my type. That's my type. Hamburger, simple food, simple meal. He all
You're
goes.
gonna really enjoy watching this one, aren't you?
Yes, I am going to. I am going to enjoy. It's a long one, but it's really good. Have you got something to tell me, Ben?
I want to tell you that your books on coming out of religion, your books on being fulfilled with your destiny, your book on being happy and being a supernatural widow, um, your book on giving uh, when you don't have any money, giving out of your lack, you're giving on your book on serving God with 150%. Um, you've just got a whole lot of books that aren't going to be written with Matthew. They're going to be written by you, and they're just you're going to be known as an author, and going to have people following you on Amazon. And when you release those books, they're going to set everyone that reads the books on breaking the chains of religion.
Mm.
Everyone that reads it are going to take your practical steps and get free.
I agree because I'm going to learn a lot of theology, the right theology from speaking with saints in heaven. Because
Yeah.
I've learned so much now. Even I could write a book on religion, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till later years when I've got more insight because I still want to learn more. But sometimes I feel like just write a book coming out of religion. I'm like, no, I'm still a bit, some percentage
You,
in. I need
you
to come
can
back
uh,
on.
you can write coming out of religion, and then in a year's time, you can write updated and expanded edition.
Thank you, Ben. You You really make me happy. I
Yeah,
miss
you
you
make
though.
me so happy. We miss each other, darling. But the Queen said something that I was pleased to hear her say.
That's too surprising to me, but it's a good news. But I'm so surprised about that. Myself and Matthew were still discussing it today, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good subject.
Yeah, so that's good to hear. But I miss you so much. But it's good to see what you're doing in heaven and what myself and Matthew are able to do as well. That is greater than any other thing.
Yeah. So we might close it up here because it's got a bit long for people. Um,
Matthew, before you close it, I would love to say hello to John. Hello, John. Are you much in a better mood today?
I'm happy because you're happy. Both of you are happy, and it makes me happy. Um,
Oh,
if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. If it makes you happy, well, it can't be that bad. Mixing with witches, connecting with cyber friends, uh, responding to people's negative YouTube posts, responding to critics. If it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. Matthew's never going to be a singer. He can
yeah,
worship. There's certain songs that Matthew's voice suits that he's happy to worship, and he's got a huge anointing on his singing voice. But it's only like 10% of songs that he can sing very, very well.
yeah. But I've seen him in the past YouTube videos where he sang, and I was just laughing. I'm like, Matthew, you're such a weird being. Who told you you got a voice for singing on this video? But he doesn't care. That's what I love about him. He just says it as it is. I wish I'm so carefree like Matthew John. A lot of times I just admire him for,
He's getting better and better. He's getting freer and freer.
yeah, I want to be free in that way. That I don't care about what people think.
Yeah. Do you like Matthew's new house?
I do. I wish that's his house though.
Yeah.
N- Not an imaginary house. I wish that is Matthew's house. Matthew, do you wish that's your house? It's really lovely. It doesn't look like background, by the way.
If that if that was his house, there'd be all plates on that table and there'd be a mess everywhere, you know? It wouldn't be a good background.
Oh my
You wouldn't
God.
be able to keep that clean.
Yeah, I think it's very challenging when you are doing God's work to even remember to clean. I used to clean every morning before, like when I drop my children, my routine is to clean the house, then start my day. I don't do that anymore. I just
You
have to.
you really think you're talking to the saints? Who's the most crazy out of Matthew and you? You you start talking to John Lennon and you really think you're speaking to John Lennon, and you're
Yeah, of course.
absolutely crazy. You talk to us as though it's really us. It's not just Matthew speaking. You've become part of the Matthew cult.
Well, it's good. It's a good crazy. Because how can you grow if you're not
Matthew's
crazy?
sex drive is totally gone. He couldn't have 30 young women as his cult followers. He wouldn't be able to have children to all those girls. Sex is like a lot of work for Matthew.
Oh my God.
He's going to have a miracle done when he gets to heaven with his new body to be able to give him a proper sex drive.
Oh my God, Matthew, John, are you waiting eagerly for Yoko?
I I'm I'm looking forward to her getting here. It'll be quite a shock for her to arrive here. She'll take some adjustment.
You will support her. You support
Yeah.
her. Thank you, John. I wanted to hear from you before Matthew shuts it down. It will have been good to hear from Princess Diana as well. I know you. I
Ah,
love
you
to
can
speak.
hear from me, Toulouse. Matthew's in a good mood.
Yeah,
How are
let's
you
hear.
doing?
Is Princess Diana asking me a question, Matthew?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you as well?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm not really doing much. I'm just uh sunbathing on the beach most days and reading books. It's a full-time job listening to the podcast each day. It takes 5 hours out of each day, and I'm a bit of a rebel. Like I've always have been a rebel. Like Meghan Markle really impresses me. The world seems to hate her, but I'm really impressed with her. And but uh, my fashion label's going well, and I really love teaching the kids. Um, I love spending time with kids. I absolutely love spending time with Jesus, and John Lennon is being discipled by God. So he's coming out with some profound things, and he's fascinating just to sit down and talk to. And I really love him. He's become like a brother. He's if if your brother could be your lover, I'd I'd like that. But John's like my brother. He's taken. He's waiting for Yoko, so there can be nothing between us. But he really sweeps me off my feet, the same as Jesus. I wish Jesus could be my lover sometimes. Uh, Um, so the
Hello.
Queen's very happy, and Prince Philip is happy. Uh, he makes some good commentary on the podcast. Everyone's on the podcast. I think I'll get on the podcast and say some things. Um, but
Oh,
yeah,
Princess Diana.
so I've been doing some shows, releasing a new season's clothes, and my fashion brand is going really well. And I've tutored and mentored a whole lot of young fashion girls, and there's brands launching under my brand name, and they're coming under my umbrella, and I'm mentoring young women how to create fashion, and some men too, and so that's really good sewing into them. Um, so everything I do, even the sunbaking on the beach, is really fulfilling to me and rewarding. That's the thing about heaven. Everything you do is perfect. Everything you do is amazing. I may be in a lower realm, but I'm totally fulfilled. I haven't, because I had my heart broken so much by Prince
Mm,
Charles. Um, I've got trust issues still. I've got trust issues, and um, sometimes I don't feel loved or lovable, and
mm,
so I still carry that even after all these years.
mm,
But John's making me feel really loved and accepted, and people of heaven really love me, and it's good to do the functions with uh, Elizabeth. And the people of heaven really love me. They love my fashion. They love meeting me. And sorry to put a damper on things. It's just sometimes I get overwhelmed by just speaking to you, having the opportunity to speak on this podcast, having the opportunity to speak to people. So humbling. In years to come, there'll be a few people reading this series of books, and don't know whether that's when Matthew passes or whatever, but at some stage, there's going to be tens or hundreds of people reading this, and um, I'm sort of humbled to have the opportunity to speak.
Oh, thank you, Princess Diana. It's always nice to hear from you. You always say some interesting things, and you're so sincere and transparent in your conversations. You just say it as it is. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's so good to hear from you. I always wish to go around the table just to hear from everyone, but sometimes it's impossible for me just to have questions for
You can,
everybody.
Matthew will have a break. He'll go to the toilet, make another coffee, and perhaps you can have another half an hour, and you can try and uh, ask one or two questions and get around the whole dinner table. But uh, maybe this can be the longest dinner table ever. Uh, but for the people watching this video, prepare for some long time. When you clicked onto the video, you knew how long it is. So, as Matthew, this is Princess Diana, as Matthew goes for his toilet break and making a new coffee, some of you can pause the video and um, go on a toilet break yourself.
Thank you, Matthew. See you soon. Hmm.
Hello, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Who's speaking now?
We're speaking now. I don't
Yeah,
know who's
who's
speaking.
who's speaking to you now? Use the Holy Spirit's discernment to tell you who's
Is it
speaking
not
now.
Princess Diana?
Yes, it's me back.
Matthew, why are you testing me?
Oh, it's good to be tested. So I've got a real good bikini figure, and I look really sexy.
You've
And
always
if
sexy.
if there was lust in heaven, the men would be lusting after me when I sunbake on the beach.
My God, it's good to know that
Uh,
there's not lost
you
in
know, I
heaven.
learned on earth you can be pretty and have your heart broken.
Hmm.
All the pretty girls might get the attention, but a lot of them have really sad and depressed lives, and men use them.
Oh, wow. And why is that so? Is it because they're pretty?
It's just modern culture these days. Men like to possess something pretty, they like to conquer something. And the world, as I watch it and I watch podcasts with Matthew, the world is just breaking down. So some women have slept with 200 men, and they call it like their body count. How many, like, you know, used to be only 5% of women that got married weren't virgins. Now it's like only 5% of women are virgins.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Man, it's powerful.
It's quite
Uh,
acceptable in like 45, Matthew doesn't remember the figure, but about 45% of Christians accept uh, a Christian couple living together if they have plans to be getting married. It's acceptable. It's no longer is fornication a sin.
no, it's normal now. But it's easy for us to pick against people that are homosexual, even though you are living in sin yourself.
You
So,
you have Bethany speaking to you, like you you're saying comments based on what Bethany just told you to say. Why did you think we were going there? Don't you understand? Gays are just evil. Gays just can't come to heaven. Gays gays Gay men have sex up the anus. Now, if you're so sick that you'll do that, you're not allowed in heaven. No man can get near my anus.
oh my
Good,
God.
good women don't do that, and depraved men that go at men are just horny devils. They just and there's so few gay men that have long-term relationships. They sleep with hundreds of men. They just Matthew could go to a gay bar and get a lover. He couldn't go to a bar and get a female lover, but Matthew could go to a bar and get picked up.
Oh my God. Do you know what, Princess Diana? I don't think everyone will be having conversation about sex or about all of this. So I'm always surprised because everyone is just like holy, righteous place. Nothing else happens in heaven
I
apart.
I'm not the normal woman. I'm not the normal person. I never will be. Like I'd leave heaven if I can't be myself.
Man, if you
Anyone's
can.
got a choice of leaving heaven.
Seriously?
Yeah. Some of the people in realm one should leave. That'd make heaven a better place. I'm not in realm one. I'm in realm three. I'm doing pretty good.
Oh my God, Princess Diana. I hope you're not upsetting some people
But
now.
but I hang out with higher. I hang out with people in higher levels.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm in realm seven all the time because I pretty up the place. Nothing like having a stunning woman hanging on your arm. John Lennon actually gets higher grades and more looks from people when he's walking arm in arm with me.
Do people look in heaven?
Ah, people love me. I've always been loved.
Oh, yes, you've always been loved. I agree. Watching all your documentaries, I always enjoyed. I have this connection with you on the screen that I just love to watch all your stories. And sometimes I used to cry because I just felt I didn't think you were in heaven. And I was like, such a
Yeah, well,
pure.
John Bevere wrote a book saying that I went to hell.
Hmm,
Famous preacher, hearing from a false Holy Spirit.
hmm. I think
That really worried Matthew when he read it because he thought he heard me speak from heaven and had published a book or two about my interviews and singing, I've done heresy. This Princess Diana really isn't in heaven because this is John Bevere. He wouldn't get it wrong.
Oh, I think what I've learned is you don't need to look up to someone that you feel that person is a great man of God any longer. You just have to have that personal relationship with God yourself because anyone can. fall anytime.
Do you know, it's so much work to go back to your YouTube videos and change your description tag. Like you'd have to hire someone on Fiverr. It'd be mind-numbing work to go and change the description tags in 5,000 videos. So you imagine in 5 or 6 years' time with Matthew doing 2 or 3 videos a day, how many videos there's going to be.
Man,
Matthew had the inspiration to list the 5 books that really impacted his life in his
mm,
description tag, and if Matthew really takes off, if his ministry really takes off, he has a video that suddenly goes viral or a book that goes viral, and he gets discovered by millions of people. Those authors and those books are going to take off too.
man. Actually, Princess Diana, what you're saying here is actually true because we've done like 300 videos altogether in less than a year. So if we continue at this pace, there's going to be a lot of videos that Matthew will have done by the time he's in heaven. So even though he's no longer here, he will still be reaping the reward of all of the things he's done. The videos, the books,
If
the
Matthew gets cancer or something, that not a
Mm.
heart attack, Matthew's praying for a heart attack. He if you pray with all your heart and believe that you have it before you receive it, you'll receive it. Matthew can see and pray and receive a heart attack. And
Man.
but before he goes, he's got to sign over or give you at some stage you can have a book that you write important information, and
Mm.
he'll have to sign over his login details for Facebook and YouTube and
Oh,
Amazon so that you can look after the ministry, because
um, you're already making me
you,
teary,
you can
Princess
post to his Facebook every day and say
Diana.
something good about his ministry.
Oh.
You won't be able to do it because you'll be afraid of what people think of you.
I think by that time, Matthew will have already done a lot of work in me. But personally, I'm not always afraid of what people say. I've always been very rebellious, Princess Diana.
Yeah, well, that's why I love you so much. That's why I think you need to talk to me. I've asked you before to be my friend, but you don't talk to me too often.
Drag me.
You
Drag
could
me. Pinch me.
you you have to get Matthew in a manic mood to have a conversation with me.
Oh my God.
I've done a couple of comedy skits in heaven. They go off well. A lot of people turn out.
They do turn out. You're so funny. Everyone is funny. Queen is funny. Man,
The Queen's a laugh.
that was really surprising to me. I didn't expect Queen to be funny because I always see her very serious because I only see her when she's doing her roles in on her. So I always think she's a very serious person. So it's good to know that she makes a lot. Do you remember that Paddington thing that Queen did before he passed away? The Paddington for the Jubilee. I've forgotten the celebration. I think it's Jubilee, the last celebration we did. It was really a funny thing with the guy that did.
Paddington Bear.
Yeah, that was really funny that the Queen did. I'm like, oh, I thought Queen you was too serious for this. I was so surprised to see Queen doing that. Yeah,
She's a good mum.
yeah, she is.
I
I
would have made
agree.
a good queen myself.
Mm,
The world would have loved me. Charles didn't like the fact that I was more popular.
mm,
His jealousy couldn't handle it.
mm.
Now he picked the ugly woman, Camilla, and and now he's the star and she's just the old handbag that he carries around.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you
The
said that
world
because
is thinking it. I'm not just saying it. The world's already thinking it.
oh my God, Princess Diana, you're so unique. I'm glad you said that because I always think every time I watch that, what did Charles see in Camilla over you? That you're so pretty. That's what every man wants. I couldn't see the comparison. But well, they always say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So there must be something that Charles loved about Camilla.
I'm
That's
sure
what.
there's wonderful things about Camilla, but I'm just not interested.
I can't believe that
It,
you're still
I've
upset.
forgiven her. I've forgiven Charles. I wish them all in them well in the marriage, but I would just make a better queen. I think the world loved me.
Yes, we do love you.
And
And
I'd do podcasts and I'd do interviews and I'd turn up to events and I'd be the star of the show. And Charles just couldn't handle it.
mm,
But you
yeah,
imagine John Lennon left the world, Mother Teresa left the world, I left the world, uh, um, Steve Jobs left the world, um, Michael Jackson left the world. All the best people are in heaven.
the good ones. Yeah. And we are going to do interviews with the good ones. The new, what do we call it again, Matthew? The new
Matthew
playlist.
forgets, but it's there somewhere.
Famous something. Interview with famous, maybe conversation with famous people in heaven, something like that. So we're coming to speak to you again, Princess Diana. We're going to read to the interview. Probably I'll go back to the questions that Matthew asked and just re-ask the same thing again.
I really love you kids.
Mm,
I watch every time you interact with Matthew, and I love seeing your kids interact. It's really precious. Yeah,
thank
Alana asking if her father can read minds, and he said you were thinking naughty thoughts about your teacher. She was totally shocked.
Yeah, she was. She was. Because she was telling me a few days before that at P2 because she's now in primary three. So when she was in primary two, that teacher was so horrible. She wasn't nice, and all the things she was saying, I'm like, Nana, you're too vocal. You never told me all of this. Well, I don't care. Every time I don't go to school, she tells me, but you still miss school because I like seeing her upset. She's so funny. She just makes me laugh. Is it that? So she's such a unique
You're a
girl.
good mother. You're not a helicopter mum, like hovering over your children, having to see everything your children do. You sort of go away, kids. I'm busy at the moment.
Do your thing, I do my thing. Yeah, but they do understand Princess Diana. That's the interesting thing. Like Alicia walked past maybe about an hour ago and she was waving to me, smiling. So they gotten used to it. I just said that I want to do an interview. Okay, mommy. So they know Matthew now. They know Matthew's. There was a time myself and Matthew did not really do much of an interview because we're only doing God conversation. And Ilana came to me, Mom, it's been a while. Aren't you and Matthew doing any interviews at the moment? And like Matthew's having some time off at the moment. Okay, because it's been a while I've seen Matthew. So they do like it in a way.
Yeah. Well, uh, Matthew's happy to be like a father figure for them.
Yeah. Ooh,
Matthew, Ben is just so overjoyed with Matthew. Matthew and Ben are gonna be great friends when he gets to heaven.
no. Yeah, I'm jealous.
When Matthew was talking about just something that I just placed in Matthew's mind, when Matthew was talking about that guy he knew that wanted to meet one of the 24 elders on earth, Ben's one of the 24 elders.
Oh, wow. So out of the 24 elders, I met two of them.
And so is Emmanuel.
Oh, man. Those are deep.
The 24 elders are all people that can sit on Jesus' throne and take over for Jesus. They're replacements, right hand of God.
Mm.
That's all revelation. And when you're in heaven, you can get a stronger flow of revelation.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
And I'm speaking beyond my pay grade now, so I'll just uh, let you talk about deeper stuff with other people. I'm just going to the beach now, um, and I'm going to sunbathe and make all the men lust after me. Do you know, it's amazing that you can walk through heaven looking so glamorous and you can turn heads, but there's not lust in one man's eyes, you know.
That's so
Uh,
beautiful.
there's no creepy man in heaven. Yeah.
My God, Princess Diana, you're so funny,
Yeah.
man. Oh
That's
wow.
me. That's me. Wouldn't it be good if you could advertise and say, "Come and hear Princess Diana speak from heaven"? But there's nowhere in the world that you can advertise that.
No.
It's just for the fans of conversations at the dinner table. It's just a treat for them.
Yeah, it is. It is. And Princess Diana, the thing is that a lot of people will not even believe that you are in heaven. They'll find that difficult to believe, a lot of the religious ones. So probably the ones that do not go to church will probably embrace these messages more than Christians, because Christians will like, no, you're not speaking to Princess Diana.
Yes, necromancy.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
speaking to a familiar spirit. I'm really familiar with my familiar spirits. Every time I've been delusional, I've enjoyed myself.
My God, Matthew. Is it Matthew that is speaking now, not Princess Diana?
Obviously, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, Matthew. Who have we not spoken to today?
The Queen.
The Queen has spoken, actually,
Yeah.
briefly.
I, I
Briefly.
do I do want to say something.
Okay.
Matthew and the Father are connecting at a level that hasn't been seen by heaven.
Hmm.
And as Matthew and the Father connect and embrace and resonate with each other, it's going to take heaven to an amazing place.
Oh,
And Matthew's so happy. I just want to thank you for agreeing to change the book's Conversation with God, volume 1 to 3, and paying the extra money to get that book laid up and paying the extra money for the cover, because it's really important that this series of conversations get read by the maximum amount of people.
I agree.
I'm really proud of Diana. She's so funny. She's so funny. She's such a rebel. She's actually sitting. She's actually sitting in this dinner table in a really revealing bikini. Who comes to dinner in a bikini? Only Diana.
I love that though.
And
I
she's
love,
got such olive skin. She's got such beautiful skin.
man.
She could do with bigger breasts, but
Don't they do that in heaven miraculously? Don't you? Can't you ask for that? Here on earth, we go to you, doctors, to do all of those things. That's not possible in heavens, wherever there's spare parts.
probably is. But people are happy with how God wanted them to look. There's no Botox in heaven. I certainly need Botox at my age. Did you like the analogy about you and Ben being fine bred racehorses,
I did. I
and
never expected that.
and
There's so
your genetics produce like a superior Emmanuel?
yeah. Mm, I to be kind, when you were speaking, I was like, oh wow, because I say wow a lot in my interviews, in my conversations, because I am amazed by the things that people say and the way you illustrated it, the way Matthew is able to deliver that message as well. It's so powerful, yes. But I never imagined myself to be that person that you described.
Well, that's just like Jesus. It's the grace of Jesus, unmerited favor. Like you just have a favor beyond what you're worthy of. And Jesus just sees each one of our potentials. And if we draw close to Him and we trust Him, He uses us to do things that we could have never achieved in our own strength. It was only the strength of the Lord that allowed me to be a queen and be such a good queen. And it was such a good thing to rule for so many years and have so much respect.
I agree. You were the
And
best queen.
I totally forgive Megan for making that racial slur. She she didn't know what she was saying. She didn't respect the protocol of the crown, and that she was in a nasty piece of work. Oprah Winfrey. She was being set up and baited by a nasty piece of work. Oprah, Oprah has got a similar fate as Hillary,
Mm, wow.
just not as deep. She traffics, she traffics young African girls
So what's the point of the charity that she's doing with
for
girls as
money. She
well?
uses them,
Oh, wow.
and that
Man.
could be hearsay, but I, I, Oprah, Oprah was best friends with Weinstein and Epstein, and
Mm,
she traffics uh, actresses and traffics models, um, and puts young innocent women in the hands of lustful men.
mm, that's very sad.
And if she cancels you, you're cancelled. So she's a really nasty piece of work.
Mm. No wonder she has no children. It makes sense
She
now.
was used to discredit the Crown's name using that interview and that reaction. They said that, and she was used to discredit Michael Jackson and call him a pedophile.
Mm.
She's very well used by Satan, and she's eaten baby flesh.
Oh,
Drunk blood, high level witch.
that's sad.
She's a witch Matthew doesn't want to visit him.
Oh my God, Matthew. I
I'm
thought you
so
don't.
impressed. I'm so impressed to see the effect you're having the stadiums booked each night uh, to view the podcast
Mm,
uh, is major undertaking.
thank you, Kim. Man, has anyone got any question for us, Matthew?
Jesus wants to know, when are you going to slow down? That's not Jesus asking, that's you, Matthew. See,
So you've come,
you've got discernment, you can tell.
you've confessed your sin. I know Jesus can ask me that question when I'm going to slow down. Jesus won't ask me that. I, and I will never slow down. Even when I get to heaven, I won't slow down. So this will always be me. Matthew,
Okay,
unfortunately.
so have you got anything that you want to say before we close off? Have you got any got any comments you want to say to Bob, Matthew's father?
Matthew, I just want to appreciate him and his humility. I think your dad is very humble because he's always very quiet. He doesn't talk much. And usually when he talks, he's still always in awe of who you are, being your father. And I could see, I could sense in him, or I could feel it, that he's really, really humble and very nice person. So I just want to appreciate him for everything that he's done in your life, because in one way or the other, he had a positive impact as well in your life. I know you did have some challenges with him, but I just want to appreciate him for the father he was for you, and I was able to persevere with you, Matthew, because it's not easy being your parent. I could feel it wasn't easy. You really took them through a lot of ups and downs. You know that song Highs and Lows? They
Yeah.
could sing that song when they were on hard. So I really appreciate him, and I appreciate what he's doing in the life of Michael, my husband, and John, because I know he's really been a pillar, especially for Michael, for a long time around the music. You remember they said the music will always have to go through him before the pop and before they release any music. So I just want to thank him. I don't have any question in particular for him, but I just wanted to appreciate him.
So have you got anything you want to ask Peter or say to Peter?
I've not read Peter's book. I think the thing that always amazes me about Peter is how hungry you are. You always have a lot of questions, and you seems to have answers to a lot of questions as well. So, and I did ask you the last time that what advice have you got from me? You said you've not got any advice for me. But Peter, what are you doing in there? What is it like to be with your wife? I know you've been with your wife for so many centuries, but what is it like to be together in heaven?
Yeah, it's truly wonderful. Heaven is just a place of reward. If if uh, if you did your life's purpose, and especially being crucified like I did, life in heaven is just amazing. It's just glorious. It's to put it to put it for the males to understand, it's like living in the midst of a perpetual orgasm. Like
It's only Matthew that can get that word out.
pure pure joy.
Man.
And sometimes women, you can get them so excited that they have multiple ones. They get so blissed out, and that's what it's like. It's like a woman perpetual orgasm, like always one joy after the next, more surprise after the next. We were really shocked when Bob, when you published that parables book, and he caught the biggest snapper that's ever been caught in heaven. That was a sign and a wonder that shook heaven.
Oh,
And
wow.
Matthew's father became from a normal fisherman that he was known as Matthew's father, but when he caught that snapper, like every fisherman wanted to meet him. Everyone fisherman thought he was the best fisherman, and that snapper was just amazing, and it was just a sign that there's a good book that come out. Like Bethany got an award as a scribe angel that day. Um, Bob got the big snapper. Um, Matthew's two principal books. He's book on the parables of Jesus that
Comment.
he produced with you, and the C.S. Lewis book, The Gospel of Love. Um, when your parables book, they'll be the two best books of Matthew. And these two series is Conversation at the Dinner Table and God's uh, Conversations with God uh, are going to be the four books that Matthew really cherishes. And there's like a major award coming out for Bethany when Conversations with God, Volume 1 to Volume 3. It's gonna when that book drops, it's just and that girl that Matthew's hired puts a review on it's just gonna like set fireworks off in heaven. Heaven's just heaven to use that vernacular again, like heaven's gonna have an orgasm that the day that book comes out.
Oh my God.
Why shouldn't you talk about that? Sex is not a dirty subject. It's just been made dirty by the world.
I guess so. But it's not a dirty
When
subject.
when when they put that on video in front of people, it's meant to be something in the privacy of someone's house. But a,
Yeah.
a man and a woman, when they're courting, should be able to talk about sexual subjects without it getting lustful.
Hmm.
It's not just for children, it's for pleasure, it's for fun, it's for intimacy. You know,
Hmm.
Matthew's relationship with God is almost sexual. It's just so intimate and close, you know. You asked before, why is God getting so deep? Because he's just falling more and more in love with Matthew. His heaven has been rocked and transformed in the last year by Matthew. Uh, Matthew's achieved more in heaven than God and Jesus and every saint in heaven has been able to for 2,000 years. The
Wow.
prophecies in the Bible about Matthew, Isaiah, you can put it in the book, Isaiah chapter 42, verse 6 to 9. It's being fulfilled in Matthew's life in heaven. A prophecy over Jesus' life, and it's a prophecy over Matthew's life. And Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1 to 6 is being uh, prophesied over Matthew's life, and it's been fulfilled in Matthew's life. There's so many messianic prophecies and promises over the nation of Israel that are being fulfilled in Matthew's life. Um, and God's getting so happy. There's going to be a shift. There, there really, there might even be something major, catastrophic happen on Earth when that book 1 to 3 happens. Satan's not going to be happy when that book drops.
Well, that is going to drop really soon. I think it will drop in a week's time maximum because from tomorrow I'm working on it. We just need to get the cover and hopefully within 2 to 3 days, the guy should be able to publish it. So it's going
Yeah.
to be very fun. I'll be working on it from tomorrow. Oh, thank you so much. Matthew, you can close it now. I've
Okay,
really,
so this has been uh, a very long interview, and the fans have the true Died in the War fans have listened to this video. If you're a member of YouTube, please like the post. If you're a member of YouTube and you enjoyed this conversation, please comment and you know, like I said hours ago, I believe what June prophesied over Matthew's life. Um, if you want to really touch Matthew's heart and you listen to this, write that in your comment. Um, and if you want a friend and you want to be invited into the conversations with God, uh, um, interviews or conversations at the dinner tables, interviews, just friend request Matthew and write to him on Facebook, and he'll include you in that. God bless you and keep you, and uh, tell all your friends about this video.